level that would keep our exports competitive.
The lady has foolishly attempted to join the conversation with a wild and dangerous opinion of her own. What half-baked drivel?
Oh, I just realised there's something wrong with that intro, and that's that I don't drink coffee. Never have. I've had one cup of cappuccino on the island of Sardinia because I thought if I'm going to have some, I should have it in Italy. Went through me like shit through a goose. I was on the toilet within 5 minutes. On that note, it's the Inside Man.
Hello, good evening. That's a nice little, let's just say a brown note to start with.
Well, I thought, you know, here's someone else who goes through something like shit through a goose. It's the Inside Man.
Thank you.
How's your week
good
been?
to be here. Yeah, good, mate. Good. Yeah, really enjoyed the Shield on Sunday. Really enjoyed that, actually. I think really cracking stream.
It's annoying that that stream has been blocked in several countries. Partly because of showing the titles for Starsky and Hutch, so we won't be doing that again. But also, I think so. There's a couple of really weird things out there. One of the bots that blocked us came from somewhere like, I think it was either Japan or China, for one of the actual clips of the Shield that we show. And I mean, they're so short; they're definitely under fair use. I've appealed, so I'm waiting to hear. But I guess I'll have to be really tight on clips that we show in future. We'll only be doing 2 episodes this Sunday, so so episodes 4 and 5 this week, both of which I've watched 3 times, I think, in the last week. By the time I've watched the 4th one, I should be able to remember something. So but my regular co-host is here. His attendance has been intermittent of late, but today he is here, and not in his usual man cave.
Yep, I got this avatar picture just for you, Lance. How's it going?
What the fuck is going? Oh, I see. Okay,
yeah.
Right.
Coffee goes straight through you.
Well, that was some kind of rocket fuel. Let me tell you.
What's funny is I actually am planning on driving back out of town right after this gig, right after this stream. So, yeah, you're lucky. I couldn't miss 2 weeks in a row, right?
I thought you were about to say what's funny is I'm planning on just about to drink a cappuccino.
No, I already had my coffee earlier. It's American style. We Americans don't drink tea.
Right. No, indeed.
We Texans drink sweet tea though for dinner, which is like, it's not what you're accustomed to at all, Lance.
No.
You ever had Texas sweet tea? It's insane.
Well, we have been looking at a few new things, watching a few old things. We're going to talk about them. Mostly what we're going to be doing is recommending you stuff that's worth watching. That's primarily what we try and do on this channel. It was funny, actually, because I was a guest on Dark Hours channel yesterday, an impromptu guest. He did an impromptu stream. And I think I was on...
Totally impromptu talk show.
Yeah, I was on with Movie Cynic and Professor R2. There was a guy on just before me, Bagface, I think. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm, over on my channel, we mainly recommend stuff, but I know you guys, you none of you guys want to watch that." And I was thinking, like, no, I do. I want to watch videos where people recommend.
Bagface thinks he's special. He's not. I'm just kidding.
Needs.
I do love it when you throw a hand grenade in the hornet's nest, Stupenzo, especially when it's on.
I like Bagface.
Now, Blue Collar Loser is possibly not going to make it tonight. So that's unfortunate because without him, we don't have someone to represent the LGBT demographic on the panel. Fortunately, however, we contacted Rainbow Headquarters and Lord of Toxicity offered to step up.
Greetings! Hello, hetero friends. What's up?
How are you?
Am I hetero?
So good to have you. We need balance on the on the channel. So thanks for coming on to cover Blue's Uber shift.
Well,
he's like cleaning and fueling buses now.
But he's also now able to send me $2 super chats. Transformers 1 is a fun kids movie.
Now he only does Uber specifically on 6 to 10 p.m. Central Standard on Sundays when I'm doing my show. He gets off of Uber before and after my show to get on other people's streams.
No, well, I might talk about the first Transformers film actually tonight. So I'm going to add that to the list because it's the only one I've got anything nice to say. Unless he's talking about Transformers 1. Oh, hang on. Transformers 1 is a new Transformers film. I thought you meant like the first Transformers film.
No.
Yeah, I talked about that briefly on Leon's show for Monday, yesterday. God, that feels like days ago. But we were talking about how it's decent, but it's an animated kind of cartoon or CG cartoon. It looks kind of like a Cartoon Network original movie.
How does it stack up against the original cartoon from the 80s?
I mean, Blue Collar said he liked it, but he likes everything. So, he just said it was decent. I heard like it starts out kind of meh and gets a little better towards the second half. But I think they were wondering like, why is Beetlejuice doing better than this? And it's like, well, a lot of reasons, mostly because a lot of people just get turned off from animation. Only 40, 30-year-old men who are, man babies tend to, gravitate towards animated movies. I know chicks that straight up just won't watch animated movies, no matter what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
So for those guys out there looking to pull chicks, don't suggest Transformers 1.
Don't. Hey, babe, you want to go see the new Transformers cartoon with me?
When you're hitting up those Tinder messages, don't suggest Transformers 1.
I wouldn't recommend taking them to see Beetlejuice either. I got a couple things I could recommend seeing instead.
Yeah, but your recommendations aren't always great. You said don't let chicks know you're on YouTube, and I literally got a chick off of YouTube. So
okay, well, just to remind you, this is not the Enzo Lord Toxic happy hour. So let's move on. But as we have this poster up, Enzo, you've seen it. Anyone else seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I talked about it though.
Okay.
I heard all about it.
So if Blue's listening in, tell us what you would give this out of 10.
He says it's quote fun. I'm not saying it's perfect.
Give us a thing on.
And he says nothing beats the 80s movie. So okay. So not as
like
good as the 80s.
Are we talking about the substance tonight? Well, we're going to be talking about things of substance. No, I haven't seen that movie yet. I do want to see the substance. I haven't seen it yet.
Ooh,
I want to talk about the substance. I did watch it. It was awesome. Take
really?
your girlfriend to go see that movie.
So that's. I think that movie's definitely got a potential date movie thing. Okay, Transformers 1 for very young kids, 7 out of 10. Your young kids will like it. Your older kids probably not so much. Perhaps check it out. All right. So who else has seen The Substance? Anyone apart from Enzo?
No.
All I'm going to say is Cronenberg would be very proud. It definitely had some serious Cronenberg vibes. Also, It was great because it was awesome practical effects. It was very, I wouldn't say, it wasn't too hardcore. I mean, I found it not too, you might find it squeamish. Some people might find it a little off-putting. But yeah, it's also had some sex appeal that was not used. It was used in service of the story. nudity and gyrating, twerking and stuff like that. Up close shots of butts. And yeah, Dennis Quaid, he's so great in Traffic as the sleazy cartel lawyer, and in this one, he's like a sleazy Hollywood agent. He needs to play bad guys more for sure. I agree with I think it was Nadia or Vex. Someone said that they both had videos about the movie. And yeah, it's one of these movies. I don't want to tell you much about it. Just the trailer's pretty vague, but not really.
Right. I have seen the trailer, so it's basically about a rejuvenation skin product that
I would describe it as Death Becomes Her meets The Fly. That's how I would describe it. It was insane.
That's a good analogy from the trailer, I think.
Yeah. It looked great too. It was great cinematography, great makeup, great lighting. I've talked about this before, like how modern movies just have terrible lighting. It was good to see like color, interesting color, and color being used correctly or thematically anyway. And Demi Moore, yeah, she's great. And so is this Margaret Qualley. She's you might recognize her as the hippie chick from one of the Manson girls from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
One
that Brad Pitt gives a ride. Yeah,
right.
She's sexy. She's foxy for sure. She was also in what was it called? We talked about it recently. Kinds of Kindness. So,
we get lots of lingering shots of her feet in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, and this one we get up close shots of her butt in booty shorts, dancing around. She does show some boobage. Yeah.
Oh, is she was the girl that was in The Nice Guys as well, wasn't she? Playing daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
She got a great ass. No, I'm sorry.
So, where can people see this? Is it only in the States at the moment? Or
yeah, what's funny is Uninspired Reviewer. He's French, and this filmmaker, Coralie Fargiot. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, apparently French filmmaker. You can't watch the movie in France right now. That's so hilarious and ironic.
I've got it on my Plex Pass.
Where can people see it?
Theaters.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's worth it. It's worth the run to theaters too, man. It's it was yeah. Don't give money to Beetlejuice or Transformers or whatever. Give money to an original body horror film. Yeah. Fun stuff. Also, Demi Moore, like I said, she really bears all. She looks great for her age, nice. And it's very, like a self-referential role. She kind of plays herself, not really aged out actress. Clinging desperately to her looks.
What? That's crazy.
It was it's something we'd seen before. Like Death Becomes Her. This kind of movie about the lengths you'd take to maintain your youth, but I don't think we've seen something quite like this.
Funnily enough, I just checked my local cinema to see if this was on, and this Sunday, Star Wars: A New Hope is on at 4:20. Man, cool. That's tough. I might have to go and see that, but I'm going to a rave on Saturday, so.
Dude, after party at the you all go. You said it's playing Sunday.
Yeah.
So just stay up all night and get all your rave friends to go to the movie.
Bring your glow sticks and your glow necklace and go watch Star Wars.
Dude, I'm 52, not 22, and it's at 4:20. If it was at 9:00 in the morning, I might go for that. But
dude, the powers of stimulants work on all ages. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't be taking any stimulation this weekend apart from alcohol. So
that's a depressant.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, you gotta balance it out. Go do ups and downs at the same time. Give your heart a little.
For you kids watching, we do not recommend these things at home. Let's refocus on the film. So, what are you giving this out of 10, Enzo?
Man, just comparing it to this year, like a 10 out of 10. It's one of the best movies of the year. But overall, I'd say a solid 8, maybe even a 9. I liked it a lot.
So at the minute, it's forerunner for movie of the year, but it's an 8. It's funny.
It would definitely be top 3, top 5 at least, if not top 3. I want to put it in the number 1 spot.
That's funny that you mentioned Cronenberg, and that's exactly what someone has.
Anyone who sees this is going to think Cronenberg. Cronenberg's Morty. Everyone's turning into Cronenbergs.
Both of these 2 reviews both mentioned things you mentioned. One Cronenberg, the second one breasts.
Nice.
Absolutely insane. 10 out of 10.
The people
My
have
single most
spoken.
Memorable movie experience.
Damn,
Future
she's
cult classic.
61 now.
Yeah, I would definitely
Cronenberg
describe it as
aware.
memorable for sure.
Be a better version. These are all really good reviews. I mean, the lowest is 6 out of 10. Desire versus Disgust, Lord Toxic.
So weird, it's almost radioactive. Hell yeah.
That's a good one. The Oscar in the category most predictable movie with more than 2 hours of playtime goes to...
I wouldn't say yeah, I mean, it is kind of predictable, but not you're not going to predict what you're going to see. You might predict like the story beats, but like nothing's going to prepare you for what you're going to see in that movie, dude. It's crazy.
I think any film that's getting these kinds of reviews, mostly 8 out of 10 and above, is doing something right. So there's a 1 out of 10 there. Clearly the director's former boyfriend got created an account on IMDb.
I'm not giving you a good review.
Yeah.
If you don't like Ew Icky, you know, yeah, you'd probably give it a 1 star.
I don't like Ew Icky, but I do like Demi Moore, and I'm really curious to see how good she looks at 61.
Dude, you should Google her in the 80s when she was naked showing her bush. That thing was insane.
Was it?
Dude, Google Demi Moore bush. You'll be shocked. It's a veritable forest.
Again, like, you know, can we rein in the language, please?
Bush is not a bad word.
No, it's not. But my channel, you know, is needs to be a bit more highbrow.
Yes, highbrow, okay. Enzo. Come on now.
In lieu of
nothing wrong with tasteful nudes. All right.
I knew I should have put Enzo on.
I love these posters. I love these posters. These posters are all great. Every single one of them.
One of the things I love about IMDb is that they often show you all the different poster concepts from like all over the world, and it's really interesting to see the different advertising campaigns. You know, I actually like this poster the least out of all of them.
Yeah, it's not great.
I prefer the more subtle ones. I mean, I actually really like this one. I think this is great. Yeah. You know, because I always prefer these days to know if someone tells me go and see this film, it's really good, and it's somebody I trust in terms of their recommendation. After that, I don't want to know anything. I'd like to go in knowing nothing. I love going watching plays and not like knowing who's in it, what the story's about. Somebody just tells me it's good. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's why I wait to watch all like our buddies' review videos about movies after I've seen it, because usually it's like, this is a movie. Here's what I liked about it, and here's the whole plot, like broken down. And I'm like, I don't want to hear any of this.
Yeah, so. That's why I do always try to flag up spoilers. Oh, I do like that gown with the whole serpent thing on the back. Very metaphorical.
She sheds her skin metaphorically and literally.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. It's
and now I gotta say, I was when I first saw the trailer, I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe they're gonna, Demi Moore is gonna take this like rejuvenation serum, and we're gonna see like de-aged Demi Moore. And I remember thinking like, oh, they're just gonna have a different actress who looks nothing like her. That's okay, but it works. It's like it makes sense in the context of the movie.
You think Margaret Qualley? I think Margaret Qualley kind of looks like her, actually.
I mean, not really, but it's not really about
they're close enough. They're close enough.
It's wild. Another movie that kind of remind me of. It kind of reminded me of the book like Kiln People, also known as I can't remember the movie. They kind of had it called. You have clones basically, multiplicity aspect.
Oh yeah. Aaron Charman giving it 9 out of 10. Apparently, it is also out in the UK. Elsewhere, it's just not at my local.
Aaron saw it blind. Hell yeah.
Well, that's good, man. Hope your hearing aid was working. Inside Man, have you seen it?
No, I've not seen it, but yeah, I'm pretty much sold. I mean, as soon as Enzo said that it sort of reminds me of Cronenberg and The Fly. That's kind of sold it to me.
Well, talking of in-your-face gore shock tactics, we got to talk about monsters.
Whoa!
This is my main topic for today.
Oof.
I don't want to rush it either. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a 9-part Netflix true story drama series, or based on a true story about the convicted murderers of Lyle and Eric Menendez, who were convicted for murdering their parents. That's not really a spoiler because, first of all, the story is widely known. There's been a number of other books, TV, movies, and indeed another pretty decent miniseries, actually, mainly focusing on the court cases and just the court cases, which dropped a couple of years ago. This one comes from a slightly different approach. Several episodes have unique narratives, and there are a number of things about the show that I think put it a cut above the rest. It's technically the second season, made by the same team of which Ryan Murphy is the head, the first season of which covered the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And that was a show that I had trouble completing. But
now, it's not related to the Cuba Gooding Jr. O.J. Simpson trial thing either, though, right? That's something else.
That's American Crime.
Okay,
that was a really, really good series. That
Yeah,
it was. Really rated.
I would put it in the same boat as these. You know, all these court case, famous crime, murder, you know, biopics.
But one of the things that really, I mean, hits you from the off, quite literally, is the murder scene, and there are various variations of how it may have happened throughout the show, but you get the sort of you get the most common perceived version in episode 1, and boy, they don't pull any punches. I mean, you're going to see somebody get their fingers blown off by a shotgun, then the side of their face getting blown off by a shotgun, and the rest. It is pretty powerful. It's anchored by a number of substantially lead performances from lesser well-known actors, as well as some powerhouse greats, headed up by Javier Bardem. And we see a number of scenes twice, perceived narratives as told by different perspectives, depending on who the people were perceived to be and how they were being perceived and by whom. So, it's a very interesting, quite complex show, but one that I definitely want to discuss. I personally think it's superb. I highly recommend it. Won't give out ratings now. We'll hold off on ratings until we get to the end of the discussion. But yeah, so Tox, as you are new guest of the week, Token Gay, let us know what you thought, because you've watched it, nearly all of it, I think.
Yeah, see, you got him going. First of all, I want to just say there's nothing wrong with the LGBTQIA community, and I'm very proud to be part of that. So I'll thank you. Not to throw disparages at me again. That aside, the story of these
I love you, man. Come on.
I love you too, but not in a gay way. But yeah, this is I'm glad. Jesus, mute him.
Just take him out for a sec. Go on. We do this every week. It's all right. Put him on the naughty set for a bit. Say your piece.
I had no intention of doing this, and then Enzo recommended it. He said you were going to be talking about it, and it's been batted around in our little circle for a little bit, and I started watching it, and it's interesting. It's really good. It's really stinks of because Ryan Murphy did Nip Tuck, right? Is that right? Yeah. So it's very Nip Tuckish. I used to watch Nip Tuck with my ex, and I watched this trial when it was going on.
Me too.
And I don't. This is a lot of this has got to be fake, right? Like this can't be real. Like this is not like a documentary. It's like what. I don't remember the words Enzo used the other night when we were on Dorkside, but he said something like, it's what was it you said? You called it. You had an interesting phrase that you referred to it as.
Dude, every night's a drunken blur to me, dude. I don't know what.
Okay, well, fair enough. But it's very glossy. It's not like I'd say it's probably a little bit more similar to the Ted Bundy Netflix thing they did with Zac Efron. I think it's a little closer to that, but not as I don't think some of these things are real in this movie.
Yeah,
it's
seems like some liberties were taken.
Well, the premise behind each episode is that you're always getting different parts of the story from different perspectives as they were told in the public domain. So the brothers have their version of events of what happened, which, by the way, they have 2 or 3 versions of.
True. That's true.
Which become more outrageous as times go on. you've got little scenes which are the perspectives of relatives of the Menendez family and the extended family, and it's their perceptions of what the parents were like. Then you have the young friends of the brothers, and then you've got scenes which are their perceptions of what the brothers have said or not said. So it's quite clever in terms of never telling you which narrative is more likely to be true. It's more for you to guess from the overall depiction of any one character how likely their version is to be true. One of the main areas of contention is the whole incest backstory between the two brothers, which they strongly refute.
I heard a lot about it, and when it finally happened, I was like, "Oh, that's not that bad," because it's someone else saying at a dinner party, "Oh, they might have done this and that," and it's all hearsay. So, it's not like they explicitly said this happened.
And then there's one bit which is the perception of the mother seeing something, but it's again, it's largely up to interpretation. What did she see or didn't she see?
It's a lot of, they don't definitely say this, definitively happened. It's a lot of that.
Yeah.
It is very speculative. It's there is a lot of conjecture in it, and I suspect that the reason for that is that because their stories was kind of all over the place, that these different versions of everything we see obviously are drawn from those alternate versions of those stories that they've told. But the only thing that I didn't like about it, now I do like it and I do like it a lot, but there is one thing that I didn't like about it, and that was the fact that they had to keep telegraphing the time period by saying, those kids are, dressed as Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson Thriller. Oh yeah, I should have got you to write the script for Pretty Woman, and we're just going to go and watch L.A. Law. All these kind of things to give you that sort of time thing.
Yeah,
I don't think we needed those little bits
signposts
of telegraphing to give us that timestamp. Yeah, I mean.
I thought the use of music was good, though.
The music was great when he starts playing. Am I allowed to say what am I allowed to say, Lance? Am I allowed to say a little bit about the first couple episodes?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
When he started playing the Milli Vanilli and the Bobs, when he was talking about his Bob, I know we're not supposed to laugh at stuff, but I was laughing hysterically watching that, and the fact that he's like so obsessed with Milli Vanilli. I mean, I guess you could make a juxtaposition that it's because he's fake, and those two brothers were fake the whole thing, and so that's why he's so obsessed. But I mean, Milli Vanilli, to be fair, were really big at the time. But yeah, I definitely I like that. All the times that they do it, what I don't like is because Enzo did warn me that there was like a dubious incest thing, so I'm like watching that from the start, and the way they like overhug and overkiss and do just a little bit more, because I have brothers and we don't act like that, so I mean, and I actually have a gay brother. I'm not being funny now. Shut up, dude. I actually do have a brother who's gay. We don't act like that. That's just not so that seemed like they were telegraphing that a lot. The other stuff, the guy say like, "Oh yeah, I saw that on L.A. Law last night." That was a little dumb.
Yeah. There were a couple of lines like that were on the nose, but I thought a lot of the dialogue was very good good, though.
Yeah. I think these actors who I've never seen in anything before, I thought they're really good, especially the guy Lyle, the guy that plays Lyle.
Yeah.
So,
Nicholas Alexander Chavez played Lyle, who's in the picture on screen right now. Ari Graynor, who played this particular lawyer, and I've seen another really good actress playing this same character in the miniseries about the court case. Leslie Abramson.
Is Price of Reason back here?
He is. He's coming on in a sec. Her performance was fantastic. She was amazing, and I was thinking, what else have I seen her in? And she was originally in The Sopranos. A couple of small, a small role in The Sopranos. She's been in things like CSI Miami, stuff like that. So she's been a jobbing actress, but the meat of her career has been on stage, and you can really see that in the courtroom scene. She knows just how to play them. Phenomenal actress. Yes, let's welcome in The Price of Reason special guest, How are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going? I actually saw this show. I saw the entire series.
Oh, fantastic! Well, it's great that you've come on then. So yeah, give us your overall thoughts on it.
You know, what I thought about it was that it was well made. I didn't feel like I was watching something cheap or something that wasn't well thought out. The acting was great. Like you want to see a series like this with this caliber of acting, whether it's Javier Bardem as that father. I think he, I don't love Javier Bardem as a person, but I think that when it comes to his performance on this show, he knocked it out of the park. I believed he was that rotten father.
Yeah.
And also this actress that was this lawyer, Abramson, whatever her name was, the character, thought she did great.
Gamer.
Yeah, and the guys, they did well. I think that the show had a big challenge because we don't really know what happened. Nobody does. So it was trying to show different angles of how the boys are sort of saying it happened, how it may have happened. And until the end, you're not really quite sure what really happened. And maybe that's part of this whole story. But overall, I liked it.
I'm going to ask everybody's opinion on that just before we give it a rating out of 10. So don't offer me your...
I won't say anything, but overall, I liked it. I thought this was a well-made show. I enjoyed it, and I thought it was interesting.
Great. Fantastic stuff. Stupenzolicious, how much of it have you seen?
Saw the whole thing. Once again, though, I gotta, complain about the length. I was very I expected it at this point where Lance yesterday's like, hey, Menendez Brothers, we're gonna watch that one. Talk about that one. Great. Look it up. It's 9 hours long. I'm like, son of a. All right.
Did you watch it on double speed?
He did.
Yeah, of course.
So it was 4.5 hours long for you then.
I still got to, absorb. There were some parts where I decided to slow down and check out at normal speed, specifically the murder scene, which was pretty hardcore. I do hate how, scenes like that are totally fine in these movies, but, any kind of suggestive heteronormative kind of sexuality or lovemaking is always frowned upon, but brutal parricide is always fine. Also, the other part I loved was there's like a scene where they have like an elaborate plan to escape the jail.
Yeah,
and then playing out in their heads, and then quickly it's like, oh yeah, what's this? The whole plan's like foiled quickly. It's very funny. There's a lot of stuff like that. The fifth episode I think stood out for me because the whole fifth episode is one take.
It's one take. It's one.
And it's a shorter episode. It's 30 minutes long, but it's like, it's literally one camera, one angle on a slow zoom. And it's just a back and forth between this lawyer and the character who plays Eric.
Yeah.
Some great standout moments. A lot of stuff I felt could have been trimmed because, it's kind of got this Rashomon factor where we're seeing stuff we've seen already, but just from different characters' eyes. But I didn't really think it added a whole lot more. I think it was more like just covering all the legal bases, because like Price said, we don't really know what happened, so they're just kind of covering all the bases.
By the way, Nathan Lane.
I have to disagree. Just to say on the facts, I felt that this filled in quite a few blanks for me because I've seen two movie versions.
I was pretty unfamiliar with the case. I knew, what happened, the gist of it, but this was all filling in blanks for me. I didn't understand. I didn't know most of this stuff.
There is another show which is predominantly just on the court case. And is actually very good and is well worth watching. Yeah.
I'm not a woman, so I don't obsess over the details of brutal real life murders. I prefer my murders on movies to be fictional, But Nathan Lane was a real standout, and so was Chloe Sevigny. We brought her up. She's great. The whole cast was great. Javier Bardem was awesome.
Nathan Lane played Griffin Duen, who was the father of the actress from the first Poltergeist movie, who was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Right. And I had no idea that in real life that father had a connection to this case.
Neither did I.
I didn't either.
I also didn't realize that the guy who murdered her got away with it.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he didn't go down for murder. He went down for manslaughter, which was absolutely outrageous. But
the poltergeist curse, man.
He's kind of the moral compass of this story, and he's reflecting on what's happened at these various party scenes which he hosts, which are also a way of his character dealing with his grief. I always find those party scenes very interesting. There's a film called A Cry in the Dark, which stars Meryl Streep, about the
dingo ate the baby.
The Outback baby case, and tragic true story. Sam Neill plays the husband, and there's a really good sequence in that where it's a montage of different regular people in regular jobs, including a load of reporters discussing the case in a room, all tossing up the same facts that we're going to talk about in a minute, and all trying to come to different conclusions, and some of them having fierce arguments about it, and a bit like the scenes that Nathan Lane hosts. And in A Cry in the Dark, that montage of scenes finishes with this woman's dinner party. Two of her guests are having a fierce argument, and she stands up and says, "I won't have another dinner party ruined by that bloody woman." Like, it's become such a contentious, divisive talking point that people have fallen out over it. And I always find that really interesting, because that happens in real life quite a lot, whether it's about people talking about trans rights or racism or police brutality or whatever it is that people are divided upon. We've had huge unrest in the UK recently, and there are various different reasons for the causes for that. These are the kind of conversations that take place between regular people, and I'm always really interested to see those portrayed in shows, and I think it's great that they're included. They gave something, it gave a real extra layer for me. Inside Man, chip in.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, those scenes were pretty good. They didn't feel. I mean, normally those kind of things, if you see those, these sort of scenes in movies, they seem to be quite expository. Whereas I think that they were trying to give a balance. The differing opinions of these two boys. But there is one thing that I do like about this, and that is. No, sorry, I'll rephrase that. One of the many things that I really like about this is the way it sort of flip-flops, continuously flip-flops, and shows us makes us wonder who actually are the monsters, which are the monsters that the title is referring to. And it constantly sort of turns over and over and over. So 1 minute it's the boys, and then it's the parents, and then it's the boys again, and then it's the parents, and so we don't know who they're actually referring to with the title. I mean, obviously we have the subtitle, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, but in terms of the main title, monsters, is it the parents or is it the boys?
Yeah, but very interesting. Anyone else want to just chip in about overall thoughts about the show? Not your thoughts about the case. We'll do that in a second.
Well, I liked how. Go ahead.
I was going to say that the only comment I have, there was one episode that it was like a long shot of him just talking in the jail cell.
Yeah.
And I felt that was the only part that I felt that I understand why they did it and what they were going for. But it was, I didn't need the whole half hour of him sitting there talking. Maybe there was a different way to deliver that to me. That was
that episode did feel kind of like actor porn, like actor flexing, like
right. He's great, the actor, but
I mean, after that had been going for about 5 minutes, as a director, I just thought this is going to be the whole episode. I just had a feeling that this is what they're going to do.
Same.
After 5 minutes,
I literally skipped to the end to confirm my suspicions, and then went right back to where I was. I was like,
talk about a bottleneck episode.
It's that and it was that subtle, really subtle push in from the camera, so slow. And when they hadn't cut back to the woman after 5 minutes, I thought, I know what they're doing here. So it was really.
It also is the middle of the show, the episode 5 out of 9.
And it was entirely down to the actor to engage you for that running time. It was all on his shoulders. And it might be that wasn't originally planned and it was something that kind of organically developed, maybe. But it was also, that was the moment in the story where that character is talking all bare bones about the abuse from start to finish for the very first time, and it was up to him to sell it to you completely. And I feel actually that time was earned, and the reason that it was earned was because you needed it in order to be put into the dilemma of is he telling the truth or isn't he? And the performance was so compelling, you'd have to be a real bastard to just dismiss him and say, he was lying.
Yeah.
And that's the crux of the dilemma at the heart of this piece is who's lying and to what extent are they lying? That's the question that the film is really asking you. And it's trying to give you as many of the facts as possible, as well as the stuff that is hearsay, is conjecture. But I think that episode earned its place. It was ballsy, it was risky, but I liked it. Now, do I want to see 10 more shows do that? No, I don't. I feel it worked in this show. It would be, somebody would be very foolish to try it again without earning it. If you know
It's very special.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it's also the idea that, same thing with the Pam and Tommy documentary did this, and the OJ documentary did this, where it's not necessarily about the case. It's about like the cultural zeitgeist at the time, and they do a great thing talking about how, like, I think it's on the first episode, they bring up how it's this unsolved Menendez killings going on in Beverly Hills, and also the Zsa Zsa Gabor slap heard around the world. So Beverly Hills is like a laughing stock right now. We got to put these people away. They briefly talk about how Beverly Hills residents are getting like cameras and guards and stuff because of the murders. So I thought that was cool.
Blue Collar Loser for $2. Wild Robot, new Adam Driver movie, opens this week. Okay, thank you. Might check out the trailer for that in a minute. Price of Reason, you were going to say something.
I was going to say that I think that it got its point across that episode. It's not that I didn't appreciate what was being done there, and I can understand why it was there. But still, while I was sitting there watching it, I already knew, just like you said, after a while, I understood they're not going to change. That's going to be the whole episode. And I kept thinking to myself, have they already delivered this point maybe after 15 minutes? Did I really need the full 30? I wasn't 100% sure. But it is ballsy, like you said. And it didn't ruin it or anything. It's just, I was wondering if they didn't overdo it a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be some people that hated that episode, by the way. I mean, being an acting coach, and it was a very showboaty scene, but I thought, you know what, this kid can act.
Actor was great.
He sorted his career out because it's Cooper Kosh who played that part. He's in one of Toxic's favorite films, Swallowed. Check out the poster, Toxic.
Wow.
But have you seen my?
Is that the one where the girl eats? Is that the one where the pregnant lady keeps swallowing stuff?
No,
that's a different movie.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a movie where this woman keeps like swallowing like razor blades and glass and stuff. They're telling her like stop.
Yeah.
No. Well,
weird.
But anyway, he's only been acting since 2016. His credits are not massive. He's done about 10 shorts in that time. But
how old is he?
I have seen him before. Born in 96.
Oh wow.
Yeah, young guy.
So so this, I mean, this is definitely his biggest role to date. He was in Power Book 2 Ghost. He did a couple of episodes, guest role on that, a couple of TV movies, a couple of series episodes, and about 7 shorts. So he's been grifting, earned his place, in my opinion. So I look forward to seeing what he's going to do next. So yeah. I mean, I thought both of them were really good, and he probably had the slightly harder job with that episode. And then, of course, he goes on the stand, and he's not very good on the stand, That's also
they're not. They make a big point to show that, like, in certain circumstances, both of the kids, the brothers, can be very charming, and they can be, they can put up a certain act and act a certain way, but under other ones, like, the whole, it was the mafia killed our parents, like all that
Yeah.
stuff was just, they're getting the side eyes from the cops, and then
That was a
and then
great line. Is like, if it was a mob, they would have left mom alone. Like they would have gave her a hit too.
Yeah, that was I was gonna mention that. I'm glad you
no
brought
women,
that up.
no kids, man.
They're not going to do a murder and then leave a witness, though. I don't think that's true.
Hang on, no women, no kids. Goodfellas, the Johnny roast beef and his wife in the coop.
Well,
but they
typically that's the rule.
I think they also said, let's just say that they did kill the wife. I'm saying that the mob killed them both. It wouldn't look like that. The thing with the shotguns, the way it looked, that doesn't. The mob
That's
is
true.
The mob is usually very clinical. It comes out very kind of.
It would have been 38s with silencers or
handguns.
Yeah, handguns with silencers.
Unless it's done as a very explicit warning to others.
Guess, but somehow
that's when you do, like, they would bust out machine guns, if anything, like, illegal firearms.
The police, they said to each other from the first second that it looks sloppy, or there's something about it that doesn't look like the mob. And I agree with I understand why they were saying that.
Yeah.
I really like the guy that plays the doctor. It took me a minute to figure out where I'd seen him from, and
very familiar.
He played a bad guy on a really good line of episodes of Chicago PD, and he was also the lieutenant in season 3 of Walking Dead. He played or season 2.
Yes. Okay, now I remember.
Maybe
he was also.
Go ahead.
He reminds me of like kind of John Ritter vibes, but
he gives John Ritter vibes. Yeah, he put on some weight, maybe for this. Maybe he just put on some weight. Ordinarily,
I think it's been some years, but now I remember. Did he work with the governor, or is this a different?
Yeah, he was the governor's lieutenant. Yeah,
yes, I get it now. It's all coming back to me. Yes, that is him.
Yeah.
Is the actor's name Dallas Roberts? Have I got the right guy? Played Dr. Jerome Azeel.
Trying to look it up.
I
hate how, like, when I look up the show, it just brings up the Dahmer stuff. It's so
that's
irritating.
right. Because they're both on the same page on IMDb. You're right. He played Greg Yates in 2 episodes of Chicago PD. He was that weird serial killer. God, I remember.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been no. You're right. He played Milton Mamet in The Walking Dead, 10 episodes.
Yeah. And I was sitting there watching the whole scenes with him, which were great, by the way. And then it's also great how he inadvertently breaks. Well, am I allowed to say? I don't know. What am I allowed? Can I say, like, he kind of his bullshit, kind of his BS actually kind of breaks the case with his.
Yeah.
That's such a Hollywood thing to happen. But
it did happen, though. I mean, we know it happened.
No, I know. I knew that, but I thought it was interesting. I also thought it was weird the way that, I mean, it almost seemed like he had a whole nother agenda going on with the way that he was, chatting up the Eric about, getting the confession out of him. And is that what he was? You think that's what it was implying?
Did anybody else?
Yeah, because there was the investment that he was going for at the end of it when they both walked out, wasn't there?
Okay. Yeah.
Did anybody else spot Penelope Ann Miller in this role? It's on screen now.
Yeah.
I don't care for her. I don't. She's not quite.
I love her.
I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't know why.
Yeah. I really hate how they bundled this up as two. Man, I'm trying to look up like cast on this show, and it's all clustered in with the Dahmer show. It's like,
that's because it's the same. It's season 2, but I think they should just list these things separately because they're entirely separate narratives. It's a bit of a.
Why do I have to do everything myself?
Didn't you love his girlfriend when his girlfriend took the stand?
Yeah.
Oh, the crazy lady.
She was great.
Cat who's got her thing signed by the cats.
I mean, we've all dated that chick. That she said you need to wear your your amethyst stone because your chakra is off. Like we've all had that girlfriend, and she could literally and people who are like that are always these crazy narcissists. That,
I've gone out of my way to avoid that particular girlfriend.
You're doing better than us, Lance. Good job.
Yeah, had a close call, but managed to nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
All round the cast are fantastic. I already shouted out the lady in question here.
I didn't know she was in The Sopranos, though. That's cool.
Yeah, she had a small role.
I recognize her from Youth in Revolt.
Oh,
she's one of the girlfriend's friends. Or something.
God, I haven't thought about that movie in a long. You said that she's a stage actress. Did you go watch any of her plays, Lance?
I haven't seen any of her stage work, but I'm certainly familiar with the productions. And her stage work is really extensive.
It's funny. Enzo actually reminded me of something that was kind of a through joke, if you like, with the screenplay. You know, who the hell's going to watch something called Friends? That's a shitty title.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was great.
That came up, and that was the name of his screenplay. Okay, so here's a question that I want to put to the panel, kind of twice. So listen to the brief carefully, please, because you can answer only once. So, purely by the information contained in this show alone, forget what you know about the case, reading online, forget what you've seen in other shows or documentaries, of which there are many. Purely from what is contained in this show alone, which is fresh in all of your minds, you've just seen it. Do you think the brothers were abused? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to elaborate your answer, but I will have my Stupendo Santana of Doom handy, so please don't go on too long. So,
save your timer. I just say no because, I mean, you'll say all kinds of stuff to cover your ass. And as far as like, were they sexually abused? No. I mean, were their parents mean to them? Probably. Probably deserved it too. Just spoiled rich kids trying to get away with murdering their parents. That's basically where I'd chalk it up to.
Okay. Toxic.
Yeah. So can you clarify, like SA abused or just like them parents being meanies to them? Like what?
No, today... I mean, do you believe the brother's account of the the abuse?
Not even a little bit.
Or even part of their account.
I think that in their warped minds, they may have felt and it made themselves believe they were abused in some way. I think, they were born in the wrong generation. They should have been born in this one where, words are violence and stuff like that. I think their parents were probably D-holes and were mean to them and pushed them too hard and were in that way. But I in no way believe that the parents were doing creepy stuff to them and anything like that. No, not from this, and just not from this. No.
Okay, Inside Man.
Based on the show,
based purely on the show,
I would say yes. Based purely on the show, I'd say yes, and that's only really because of the conversation that their father has with his mother. Which kind of really does show that there was a cycle of abuse.
Okay. Yeah. No, I accept that's you kind of more hit where I was going with this. A Price of Reason.
I think that regardless of even seeing this whole series, two kids like this usually aren't born and raised in a vacuum, meaning they are the sons of those two parents. And considering how, to me, messed up they seem, if they're so messed up, it's not a huge leap of logic to think that there's something wrong with those parents. So some kind of abuse, I would say, is possible in the sense that the way they raised them, whatever they did with them wasn't good, in addition to them being spoiled or whatever it is. But I think the parents probably weren't saints. At the same time, I think that I'm not sure that the type of abuse like the essay that they described, I'm not sure if that part happened. And it is at least possible that they embellished whatever potential abuse there was to kind of convince the jury.
My take on it, bearing in mind that I have seen every show about this, including documentaries, and I've read up on it extensively before I even saw this production. So purely if I'm trying to step outside of that bubble and step into the smaller bubble of just seeing this show, if I had known nothing about this case, and I watched this show, I would probably ultimately feel quite conflicted. I would feel probably pretty similar to Price of Reason in the sense that there is certainly a fairly hefty dose of bullshit going on here. But how did these kids suddenly go to 11? If the parents were so great, is that possible for kids just to suddenly turn around and do that? I mean, we know from things that happen in the modern day that it is possible, but again, I'm interpreting purely from the events depicted in the show. Okay, so the second part of my question is, knowing everything else that we know, does that change your opinion? My answer to that, before everyone else chips in, is yes, it does. My overall perception is that they made the entire sexual abuse allegations up completely. I don't believe that those were true. Knowing what I know about the brothers' behavior and the relationships that they had prior to murdering their parents with different people and individuals, I personally believe that the weaker brother who told the story about the murder to the psychiatrist would have, at some prior occasion, would have revealed the sexual abuse. If it was to that extent, to some third party, it might have been to his boyfriend. We know he had a secret boyfriend sort of in the latter years of high school. Could have been to one of his cousins, and so on. Do I think that the parents were overbearing? Did the father possibly have some sadistic tendencies? Absolutely, that's entirely possible. It's impossible he may have beat them. Lots of kids' dads do that. I'm just not convinced. I think there probably was some level of mental and physical abuse, but I think in order to sell that to the degree that they would pick up guns and go and kill these people, they had to make it more severe. It had to go another dimension. They had to add that layer in order to sell their story. My conclusion in reality is that they're where they should be. Whether they should be released or not is not really for me to say, but I absolutely think that they got the sentence that they deserved. I felt there were lots of facts that I've double checked that were in the show. Like, for example, did the lawyer for the Menendez boys, did she get together the female jurors from the first jury and interview them and put them on the phone to one of the brothers? That all happened, by the way. Yeah, that was not fictional. That all happened. So, I mean, just that alone, I thought, God, how inappropriate is this? A lawyer's really allowed to do that shit, especially when a case has been a hung jury, because that's all kinds of wrong. There's so much that's so wrong about that. I mean, this is a long time ago, so of course things may have changed. So, does anyone have any slightly differing views based on everything else that they know?
Yeah,
in the same order again, Stupenzo. Sorry.
All right.
First.
No. I mean, I could see, like, just like many other Netflix documentaries, like if you were naive and unaware of anything, you could probably, start feeling sympathetic towards these kids,
Absolutely.
these guys. It's just like the Making a Murderer thing all over again, where we're gonna, gloss over some obvious stuff and, try to make this character or characters look, kind of in a better light. But also, it's also, there's the reverse where it's like, they also paint them as incestuous. So, it's like a double-edged sword where, I like I said, it doesn't really change my opinions, even if they were, Lestered. Killing your parents is pretty hardcore, man. And to the gas chamber with you, I don't know.
Well, they didn't get that, but
yeah, I know. Stupid
Toxic.
California.
Any differing views? Anything to add?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, from what I know, actually, and they do hint at this a little bit, but not enough, is that the kids weren't living up to daddy's expectations, and he was going to yank him out of the will. Now, whether that threat was real or imagined, or it was, just something he was using, which I'm sure rich people do that, like, you better go to this school or I'm yanking you out of the will, and, stuff. I'm sure that happens. And I'm sure sometimes it's a bluff, but I mean, it's well documented that, they knew they had, these kids were very spendy, and, even the thought of going without the niceties and the luxuries that they had was, I mean, when you start getting into the many millions, that's not even money anymore. That's just a motivator with a universal handle. So, I mean, people kill people for cheeseburgers. So they definitely would do it for that many millions. And I'm sure they got told, in the joint, like, hey, better come up with a sad story that you were abused. And hell, their lawyer probably coached them. So if she did that stuff with the phone call, then she could certainly have coached him to say, hey, you need to come up. And I'm glad you pointed that out, Lance, that if he's going to admit to killing his parents to the therapist, then he'd certainly admit to, some sort of SA thing going on or whatever. So yeah, no,
I think if it was sustained abuse that took place over a number of years, and the first time this kid confesses and breaks down about something is trauma over killing the parents, he definitely would have said, and we did it because.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In that same conversation, I have no doubt about that, and I also feel the sort of person that would have a breakdown about that kind of traumatic event would have had a similar breakdown with a friend or close associate prior to that relationship.
I agree.
It's well documented, all the spending and all the things that they did then, and they do touch on it here in the miniseries. But I remember that being all over the Palm Beach Post and all over the news about how, the trips they were taking, the things they were buying, and all that kind of stuff.
They never did a hard day's work in their life. One day at a pizza restaurant, something,
So there was no way they were gonna give up on they had a ticking time clock. It's like if somebody told you gotta off somebody before a certain date, or you're gonna lose, and they knew they were pissing their parents off. They knew they were disappointing them. So they probably figured, listen, this is the only way we're going to get this money.
Inside Man.
Well, it's funny actually, because you mentioned before about them not actually mentioning anything, certainly in the show, to anybody, but of course they did. Lyle had actually told his roommate when he was at Princeton, and they mentioned about one of the cousins was told, and Eric had said that he had mentioned it to his boyfriend, if you like, for one of a better.
The reality of the cousin story is that the cousin story wasn't told. The cousin wasn't told anything.
Yeah, but in the context of the show. But in the context of the show, I mean, obviously, in the context of the show, that's why I would have concluded that from from the content of the show, that they that the events did happen in the context of the show. Certainly from the Javier Bardem conversation with his mother, that's why I would have said that it occurred. In reality, well, certainly in answer to your question, no, it hasn't changed my opinion, because my opinion of the real case was completely contrary to my opinion of the case that's depicted in the show.
Right.
Because I think we've all seen the evidence, as Toxic said, that we know these facts. We've seen the court case. We've seen their spendthrift ways. So we do know all about that, and the reality of it for me is completely contrary to what the show, I think, is trying to say. I don't know whether it does have an agenda or whether they are just trying to play devil's advocate. To me, I don't think they're playing devil's advocate particularly well in the show. I think it is kind of veering towards, this is a cycle of abuse that has kind of rendered the parents dead, really. But that's just my opinion.
My final question is about really the sort of morality of the of the show. One thing, actually, we'll see from Price of Reason. Sorry, same thing. Anything? Is your opinion of everything you know outside of the show make your other opinion any different?
No, you know, I didn't know as much detail as I saw in this show. I knew the general beats, like them spending money and how their whole vibe when they filmed them in the court. I always remember that they looked like there was something wrong with them, and
yeah, I'll remember that.
They didn't seem very likable. Yeah, so she put them in those sweaters, but I never bought it. I always thought that they were guilty. And usually when there's a money factor and there's so much money involved and an inheritance, it's really hard to focus on other issues such as SA and things like that. I think that under these circumstances, and also what you said that with that psychiatrist, they didn't talk about the SA. I would think that maybe they didn't have the best relationship with the parents. Maybe the parents were a mess. Maybe the father was controlling. Maybe he did threaten them with the money. But at the end, I feel like they were spoiled brats. They wanted the money. And that is the ultimate reason why they killed their parents more than anything else.
Mm.
That's my feeling.
One of the interesting parallels, if you like, is we're seeing a scene in a dramatization about a real life event, and in that scene these two characters are talking about, hey, they're making a movie about us, because the first movie, the TV movie, which I saw, it was one of those Odyssey films that came out on VHS in the UK. They were always all about true murder stories, and that film went into production while the court case was ongoing, by the same production company who made the Waco movie, the first Waco movie.
That's a good movie.
While the Waco siege was ongoing. Yeah, I mean, well, Waco's a topic for another time, but yeah. So, and they're having this discussion about, hey, you know, who should play you? And I think Rob Lowe. I think Rob Lowe would be good for me, and all this kind of thing. And what I found really interesting about that scene, because I thought, let me just remind myself what these guys looked like at the time. I went and looked at them, and you know, they looked okay, but they're not especially ugly, but they're not especially good looking either. They're just kind of average looking guys. And I was thinking they're trying to cast, they're punching really above their weight in terms of the people that should play them. And then I look at these actors and I'm thinking, God, the actors that are playing them in this show are actually way better looking, both of them, than the actor guys. I mean, they cast them well in the sense that one's got the boyish face and the other one doesn't. And I never knew, actually, until I saw this series, I never knew that one of them actually wore a wig.
I didn't either.
No, I had no idea about that. I don't think it'd been covered in any of the other films or shows, and if it was, I had forgotten about it.
Did they let you keep your wig in prison?
Yeah, apparently
not any prisons I've ever been in.
Yeah.
No, that's weird.
Yeah, that gets used for other things like cleaning the toilets. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's I found that whole scene really fascinating, because it's a scene within a scene within a scene within a scene, if you think about it. And it really opened a Pandora's box about the whole morality of, you know, making a film, and how the depiction of the real events can create a false narrative in history. It's like historical epics. It's like Braveheart. There are lots of people that think everything in Braveheart is factually correct, especially Americans. They exactly. There you go. Thanks for proving my point, Toxic. So you know, there is this moral quandary about how much do we play around with the facts. I think for the most part, this show, it treads a fine line. I think for the most part, it succeeds. Maybe it crosses that line occasionally. I want you to consider that before you give it your Nielsen rating out of 10. The reason for this show's title is revealed. I have to say that I think the acting in this show is a 9.5 out of 10 for me from all of the cast, not a weak link among them. But I'm going to give the show overall, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. I think even though it chucks a lot of stuff at you with this may or may not have happened perception, I don't think when it chucks the stuff at you, it's not always clear it's presenting a probable narrative as opposed to an actual narrative. Doesn't always make that distinction clear. And I think somebody watching the show could come away with thinking certain things were definitive facts. For example, and I'll give one example only, Chloe Savini, the mother, seeing the two boys washing themselves off inappropriately in the shower together. Well, the only person who could have seen that as portrayed in the show is her. She is dead. Did we see a scene where she was telling a third party about having seen that? And we know that third party relayed that piece of information factually to somebody else. No, that's not in there. So that's entirely down to a narrative that can't be corroborated according to what's been shown in the show. So because they don't always cover themselves on that, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Otherwise, it would have been higher. But it still comes with my recommendation. I still think it's very worth watching. Enzo.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 6.5. The acting and music might knock it up to a 7. But again, the length, man, it's like there's a lot of filler. It's one of these shows, kind of like Masters of the Air. Like you watch the first and last episode of the show and kind of not really miss a whole lot. But yeah, still very entertaining watch. Great acting, great soundtrack. A lot of effort put into this show miniseries. So yeah, I mean, definitely worth a watch, especially if you're one of these real crime junkies. Definitely check it out.
Toxic, as a man who never complains about anything of considerable length, what would you give the show?
Lance. All of these comments you've
well, Enzo set that up for me as we discussed.
I'll bet he did. Yeah, no, it's definitely entertaining, and I'm glad that I put it on. I give it a solid 7.5, but I gotta agree with Enzo, man. 9 episodes, and I know some of them are shorter. I know that, but 9 episodes, it's just a lot to ask for that, and I don't dig the LGBT stuff is cranked up to 11, but the acting, I cannot argue the acting is incredible. It looks great. I loved all of the music choices, and I liked learning stuff like I agree with you. I like learning about the hairpiece thing. I think I knew that because of his prison photos and stuff, but beyond that, a lot of it was pretty surprising if it's accurate, and I think for the most part it is, but some of it's like really over the top. I give it solid 8.
To pick up on the LGBT thing, there's that one scene where they're having a party at their house. Mm-hmm. One of them's done quite a lot of coke. One brother suddenly kisses the other in a slightly inappropriate way. You see these two girls who are kind of checking them out, kind of go, "Ooh, that's a bit off." And I was expecting there to then be a scene with those two girls, or one of those girls to then be a witness in the courtroom saying, "Well, actually, I saw the brothers do this." But that's never followed up. So my perception as a viewer is, whose narrative was that? It's the narrative of some extras, and we don't even know who they are because we didn't have any other scenes to establish who they are. Therefore, I don't know if their perspective has any credibility. Did that really happen? And I'm wondering why, if we're not sure if that happened, why is that in there? Is that just you trying to reinforce the incest storyline that no one else has ever kind of dipped into, so to speak? But, yeah. So I think you're right in saying maybe they're pushing that for the wrong reason.
Well, I mean, it's Netflix, isn't it? I mean, Netflix has to always push that a little bit more. I was surprised when I did my review of Rebel Ridge, they wouldn't have a big old gay storyline in that. So,
Rebel Ridge, we'll talk about that in a second. So Inside Man.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 7. In fact, I'd probably add another 1 there, so I'd give it an 8. The acting is just brilliant.
It
It's
is good.
superb acting, and soundtrack's good. Soundtrack's good. I mean, anything with a crowded house track thrown in there is is always a bonus for me.
That's good for you.
But yeah, it's it isn't. It certainly isn't perfect, and it is a little lengthy. But you're right, Lance. A lot of people would look at this and would look at any of these kinds of dramas and think that these are the solid facts. This is not a documentary. These aren't. Not everything is a documented fact. So much of it is conjecture and speculation. So as long as you go in knowing that, which an awful lot of people just do not do, and they will reach a pretty odd conclusion, by not going in thinking that, or not going in knowing that these are that these are not hard facts. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's certainly watchable, and I would recommend it. Absolutely would recommend it. Yeah, great acting, great soundtrack, interesting story. But yeah.
Price of Reason.
Yeah, I think I would give this something like a 7.7. I think that it is long, like people said, and in that sense also that we don't really know what's true and what's not true. And it's long, but I think the acting is so good, and it does feel like a solid professional production.
Yeah,
it does actually cause you to think, and
it didn't feel like a cheap Odyssey made-for-TV adaptation of the.
Most of the time, they have these kind of a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie or whatever it is, and they feel like they didn't have a big budget, or they don't have the best actors, or it was hastily done because somebody wanted a quick dollar. This actually feels like real people with the pedigree actually gave thought to what would be in this show, and it's hard for me not to appreciate it, even if it's not flawless.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Well, that is Monsters Season 2, the Eric and Lyle Menendez story. Check it out on Netflix now. The whole thing's available now. So yeah, let's move on. Want to talk about The Penguin. Now, I had vowed never to watch anything ever again connected with any of the major superhero franchise, DC, Marvel. I just don't give a fuck, really. I did see the last Batman movie. I did see it at the cinema, the Robert Pattinson one, of course, and the Penguin was a brief character. And one of the things that I really loved about that movie was Colin Farrell's performance as the Penguin. So I thought, you know what, I'm quite interested in seeing him again in this role. But as soon as there's a scene with a guy in a cape, I'm out of here. So, but I'd heard that it was going to be pretty grounded. And basically, my opinion of this show, and I've only seen one episode because it's dropping weekly, is that if you were going to make a movie or a TV series about the story of Scarface, climbing up in the inner echelons of a sort of criminal empire, gradually offing which people you need to, and you were going to put the Penguin in place of, your main man, your Al Pacino character. That's what this show is, and I'm all in. So far, it's really good. Very sort of grounded, phenomenal performance from Farrell. I mean, being an acting coach again, you've got to credit the makeup team as well, because they are kind of 50% responsible for it. But at no point do you ever think, "Oh, I'm watching a show with Colin Farrell in." You completely forget he's in it. I actually at one point found myself thinking, "Who's this actor again? I need to Google them. I can't remember what I've seen them. Oh fuck yeah, it's Colin Farrell, isn't it?" It's that good. You're so invested in him. And you're so interested in seeing what he's going to do. I'm all in for this show so far. I mean, as soon as we have an episode where half of it's Batman, I'll probably tune out. But if they just keep it as a kind of a mafia sort of criminal empire drama thriller dark show, I'm up for it. Who else has seen it?
Me.
I've seen it.
So Price of Reason has seen it. Anyone else?
I did.
Okay, so Enzo's seen it. So Price of Reason, you're getting bumped up the Brady Bunch list here. So Enzo, tell me your thoughts. Did you agree with me or?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought, I honestly thought it would have been fine as just a standalone pilot. It kind of gives you a glimpse of the Gotham crime world. And yeah, Colin Farrell, you'll get little glimpses of him in his eyes. You'll recognize him a little bit from his eyes, and that's it. I thought what was interesting was, I was happy to say that a lot of our immediate friends in the circle of YouTube are focusing more on this show than say, what was the other one? Agatha All Along. Something about it is like talk about Agatha All Along for several hours, which is literally made for little girls. But we'll talk about this show that is literally like big fat comic book men who are like fans of comic books that are in their 40s. Like this show's literally made for us, and yet we're gonna just gloss over and be like, it was good. I want to see more discussion of it. I mean, this idea that like the city is his, and he's like this big fat white dude. It's just like you don't see that a lot. No. But yeah, I liked how it was very grounded, very gritty, and this kind of normally I don't like this, explaining away these character traits. But with the Penguin, it worked. Like why he waddles because he's got this deformed foot, and he's got this beakish nose. You understand why he's called the Penguin as opposed to like the Tim Burton Penguin, where he's literally like a flipper man, living in the sewers eating raw fish. That was a little silly. But yeah, even if it wasn't the Penguin, if this was just some kind of Tony Soprano type character, which he is obviously.
I'd be into it. Absolutely.
It would have been fine. And I like I said, I like the one episode I saw. Who knows where it's going to go and I don't know how many more episodes are left. I like that it's a mini series. I'm hoping that we don't get a season 2 or whatever.
Colin Farrell has said he doesn't want to do a season 2 because of how long the makeup process is. He says he's happy to do one and be out. I mean, I do have one criticism, and that is the character of the kid. Who he's the actor's fine, but it does stretch the rules of the universe of believability. I'll call it.
It reminds me of the Lee Bermejo Joker comic, where you've got like this new henchman who's like right hand man of the or works his way up to right hand man of the Joker, and through him like we get to meet this character from like fish out of water eyes. That's kind of what they're doing with this kid. But again, back to the Penguin's makeup. Like, I just don't understand why they didn't have Richard Kind just play the Penguin. You've got plenty of fat actors that just look like the Penguin. Like, get them some work. But I get it. I guess Colin Farrell's got that draw, that sex appeal.
And to be fair, he's fucking phenomenal in this role.
He is good. He's great. Yeah,
I mean, I'd say it's the performance of his career.
The weird thing about Colin Farrell that I think I get annoyed, and I say this on a lot of streams and a lot of reviews, is that I hate when Hollywood tries to make somebody happen, and they do it a lot. And they definitely tried to make Colin Farrell happen back in the day, and it just never quite. I mean, he's always been working and doing pretty well, but he never quite made that ultra movie star thing. And he was a big standout in Tigerland, and I always thought he's a phenomenal actor in almost everything that I've ever seen him in. But he's one of those people that I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't make happen. Maybe this will be.
I think once he pivoted to like serious acting and less like blockbuster schlock, I think that was kind of a good move for him.
Yeah, I also I took part in an online Q&A with him way back in the day, just
awesome.
Just before Heart's War was coming out, and I recall it's a long time ago, and it's also from the bit of my life where I had the knock on the head, so I can't remember things very well, but I do remember part of the discussion with him was he wasn't really interested in becoming a superstar. He was really sort of he was grateful to be at the level where he was getting scripts that he could choose, and he would take the parts that were interested. And as long as he was making a living, that was fine. And he was going to have some fun, and we know he certainly did that. You know, but I mean, basically, you know, that was it with him. And he I don't think he ever really had aspirations about hitting the A-list. He just wanted to be a good actor and do good stuff. So, and I think when you look back at his career now, there's more good eggs in there than bad. And even some of the films like Heart's War that weren't box office gold are still pretty solid. I mean, that's a solid movie. I like that movie.
It is. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. You know, Phone Booth, great film.
Yep. Tigerland, exceptional film.
Yeah.
In Bruges.
So
in Bruges, great. And you know what? I'm going to defend. I don't care who comes at me. I like season 2 of True Detective, and I think he's.
I thought you were going to say you liked him as Bullseye in Daredevil.
I do like him as Bullseye. I thought he was great. I thought it was very over the top, and yeah, we've talked about that. But yeah, it's maybe he's going to be better when he just, you know, because he's one of those really solid, good-looking dudes, and maybe it's better that he puts all this stuff on himself.
Before we go off on a massive Colin Farrell tangent, Price of Reason. I think you said you'd seen this as well.
I did.
Well, give us your thoughts.
So I have mixed feelings in the sense that it's certainly competently made and it's interesting, and I didn't look at it and think I was looking at something bad. The only thing is that did I really want a show set in the Batman world with Colin Farrell sort of trying to be a James Gandolfini? Now, he's doing a good job as a somewhat of a Tony Soprano type. I'm not sure I wanted this, and I have yet to see. I mean, based on one episode, I thought it was interesting. I'm going to continue to watch it, but it really, I think over the next few episodes, it'll determine if this is something that really I get into and I really feel that I understand what they were trying to do, or I kind of just don't get as excited. But we'll see.
It's not going to be enough that Colin Farrell is brilliant. We're going to have to get a bit more invested than that. It's funny you mentioned James Gandolfini, because God, he doesn't half look like him in this shot. That could be that you could look at that still and go, that's James Gandolfini there.
The whole time I just thought to myself, I think that Colin Farrell studied Tony Soprano and just brought a similar vibe, and he does a good job. The final thing I'll say about Colin Farrell, and this is my personal opinion, I think that for years he was trying to get into the more mainstream U.S. roles. During those days, maybe now it's a bit better, but during those days his American accent wasn't perfect. I could tell that sometimes he was not struggling with it, but I think he was focusing in his performance more to get the accent right. And then when I suddenly see a movie with him with his regular accent, with how he really talks, he'd be much better. It didn't feel like in his comfort zone, although I think he's improved over the years. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that's not entirely unfair. There were certainly people out there that were doing worse American accents than him, but that's not entirely unfair. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Inside Man, have you seen it?
I've not seen it. I do want to give it a go though. Whereabouts is this streaming?
HBO Max.
Yeah, there you go.
Max. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So HBO Lego Pirate Ship Max. So yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's you know, it's going to be, this is going to be one of those defining roles in an actor's career where I think it's going to be hard for him to top this. I mean, he was great. Don't forget, we had him in Banshees of Inisherin. He was fantastic in that. Of course, our young man kind of stole everyone's thunder in that. Barry, what's his name? But
yeah, he's great in that one because he plays he's very reserved and, you know, unconfident. I feel like he's going to start getting typecast as these. If he does really good in this, you know, he's going to start, you know, having to play these more, I don't know, fierce characters, which is fine. But I did like him a lot in Banshees of Inisherin because it's very different from what he's used to playing.
If you look at his career, he's pretty much never stopped working. He's done between 1 and 2 feature films a year, and let's face it, when one of those feature films is Alexander, you're not going to do too much else that year. But if you want to see, you know, some really standout performances with him. The role he's got in Veronica Guerin is, pretty different. Inside Man already mentioned In Bruges, a film that doesn't get a lot of publicity of his. Definitely is a movie we should do a chew the fat on, or maybe I'll just bring it up in the Nielsen ratings one week. Is The Way Back.
Right.
If you haven't seen The Way Back, you absolutely should. I've only seen it the once. I saw it at the cinema, and it's the true story of 4 men who escape a Russian gulag some years after World War II. And one of them actually, literally walked all the way from Siberia to the border of Turkey. It's a true story. This really happened. And Farrell plays that character.
He's also really good in Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Lobster. But then again, he was also decent in the Fright Night remake. I didn't mind that one. Obviously, I like the original one better.
Yeah, because he's the bad guy in it.
Yeah, Jerry Dandridge. Yeah,
he is Jerry.
I also loved him, or I hated him. What was the one that was? The Total Recall remake. He's also in that. Unfortunately,
that was.
Did I remind you?
In it, but it's a terrible movie.
Did I remind you that existed? I'm sorry.
You did. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, The New World. He was also great as that as John Smith in the Pocahontas movie. Terrence Malick. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. No, interesting.
Minority Report, obviously. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was good in Minority Report. You guys have if anyone's never seen Tigerland, I gotta say, man, that's one of his best. And I thought he killed the American accent in that one.
That'd be a good show to do a chew the fat on as well. That's another one. Maybe we'd just do a Colin Farrell special and talk about his career.
I would be down for that. Yeah,
that could be a good episode. Once we've done all 700 episodes of The Shield, we'll get right on that. So is there more to say about the Penguin other than I think those of us that have seen it, we agree it's so far so good. It's not groundbreaking television or anything. The gangster tropes are stuff that we're all familiar with. We have seen them before, but I'm all in for it. I'm quite happy if this is basically Penguin in The Sopranos with a bit of Scarface, I'm completely okay with that because I love those kind of shows. And if the most sort of comic book it's going to be is that he's got a maroon car, did he say? It's not purple, it's maroon. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that one of the lines? Or plum. It's plum.
Plum, yeah.
It's not purple, it's plum. Yeah,
but then again, it's like, it's hard to follow someone when you're the only person in town with a purple car.
Yeah.
The stupidest thing I heard was people saying like the little hoodlum's name is Victor, and they're like, "Oh, he's gonna be Victor Freeze." I'm like, "Don't be stupid! Like, shut up! Stop thinking like that."
Don't they have a character called Victor Zaz?
Yeah, get your that too. It's like it's like Lance said. It's like let's get our heads out of the cape shit for once. And just do a good like crime movie that just happens to take place in the Batman verse. And yeah, it'd be great if Batman doesn't show up at all in the show. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would be really pleased if he doesn't show up. I mean, if you're going to put him in it, have him turn up at the
very end, arresting Penguin
in the last episode to say one line to Penguin, and boom, that's the end of the show. There's no.
Well, that's how the Joker Lee Bermejo comic is so great because, like I said, it's like this henchman who basically is following around Joker, and you get to see how he operates and how he deals with other criminals, and it's kind of like a tour through the dark, seedy underbelly of the criminal world of Gotham. And then at the end, it just ends with like the Joker's up to his usual hijinks, drugs and crime breaking, and all this stuff, and then Batman just kind of shows up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's like, run for your life, Batman's here. And the Joker kind of, spoilers, the Joker kind of just like, throws his little henchman under the bus in order to get away from Batman. And that's kind of the lesson. But yeah, kind of out of nowhere, this like Batman character shows up as like a freight train and just kind of derails all the criminal enterprise. And that would be something kind of cool.
Well, before we move on, let's just give some of the other cast a bit of a shout out. I know it is very much Colin Farrell's show, but I do want to mention Kristen Milioti. Is that how you pronounce it?
She's from the Black Mirror episode of the USS Callister.
She is indeed. She's
Oh,
also
yeah.
been in the Wolf of Wall Street. She's been in 2 episodes of
She's the mother from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, and she's voiced characters on The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, Teenage Euthanasia, not a show I'm yet familiar with. Has done a fair few other TV shows and movies. She's phenomenal in this. I would not have thought, if I was sort of sitting in the room and I was directing this show and the casting director stuck a load of CVs and headshots in front of me, she would not have been an obvious choice for this role. And I like that. I like it when they cast actors in roles that are very contrary. I'm not saying I want to see Phoebe from Friends in this part, but if it's an actor that's got some versatility on their CV already, let's see them do something really different. And I think the show that probably proved that she could do that was Fargo. She was in 9 episodes of 1 season of Fargo. Did a great role in
Which
that.
season was she in, Lance?
I think she was in the 3rd. Was it the 3rd one? She played Betty Solverson. It's not the last season. I think she was in the 3rd season. But man, we go. My brain is only remembering 2 days at a time. So
that's okay.
Let's not get too ambitious with your demands. She definitely deserves a shout out. You've got Theo Rossi in there, who's an actor that I quite like, who's in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Mark Strong plays Carmine Falcone. Mark Strong is amazing in absolutely everything. I'm not sure about Reyes Files, who plays Victor. I've not seen enough of him yet to make up my mind. His character's a little bit annoying, kind of feels like the weak link of the show, but by the end of the show, I kind of bought into their relationship. And it was Colin Farrell that sold that to me in the way that he played the scenes with the kid, like when he was about to kill him, and then he sort of has a, kind of a moment of conscience and so on. So we'll see. But yeah, so far I give this show a solid 7.5, 9 for Farrell's performance, but yeah, solid 7.5. I will watch the next one. It's available on Now TV in the UK, incidentally, which is where I saw it. So if you have a subscription to Now, then you can check it out. And there's the set. Okay, let's move on from the Penguin. Inside Man, you've got an oldie to recommend us, haven't you?
Well, actually, I was going to do a couple of Italian ones, but I did decide to go with Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh.
So, which is...
the Italian version.
The Italian version. Yeah, I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen it for a long time. I hadn't seen it for such a long time, and I thought, I've got to rewatch this movie.
Nice.
And it never disappoints. I absolutely love it. I saw this. I think I saw this on a double bill with Airplane. It was a re-release. When
I remember that. That double bill came out. I think it was around 78 or 79.
It was 78. Yeah.
Yeah, my sister went to see that, and I remember being quite annoyed that I wasn't allowed to go because both the films were 15. Or double A.
Yeah, or it was a double A, wasn't it?
It was a double A, yeah. And I wasn't quite of the required height.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been quite tall, so I think about sort of 12, 13, I was like 6'2", so I always managed to get into these kind of movies. So
I love the poster. Nominated for 26 Oscars, 3 Bryans, a Maureen, and a Sergio. And an I Sergio.
But it's a great movie. I mean, it's completely bonkers, and it was £300,000 this was made for.
It shows.
Considering the look of the movie, it's just incredible. 300,000 quid. And it was, I think it was, you had a few sort of members of Pink Floyd had chucked some money in there. A couple of members of The Who had chucked some money in there.
Didn't George Harrison chuck some money in there?
Yeah, that was the Life of Brian. Life of Brian was George Harrison.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an
And,
interesting poster. Avalog Galop. It's a Russian. I think it's Russian.
Yeah.
Scarecrow.
I mean, it's a strange movie. Unless you're really a fan of Monty Python, which I was at the time. It probably would have been beyond an awful lot of people. Not sort of conventional comedy.
Is this guy the leader of the Knights of Ni?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love how Blazing Saddles, the end, just kind of just abruptly just wraps up out of nowhere. A lot of people probably don't like that.
That's when like the big battle's about to happen, and the police turn up and stop the movie.
Yeah.
Because they killed that one historian. Yeah.
Yeah, they're making a history documentary, isn't it? And of course the old cop cars turn up and that.
I think my favorite gag is the Lancelot saving the prince when he's like running and he's like running in place, and then of course he rescues her. And also the what was it? It was Michael Palin going to the getting rescued by all those nuns.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Didn't they end the film because there was a big battle scene written in the script, but they didn't have enough money to shoot it. So somebody came up with the idea.
That's not quite true. Actually, I recently watched a documentary about it, and
tell me.
I got Michael Palin's diaries, and I've also read a little of Eric Idle's book as well, and they all say that everything that you actually see on screen was written to be exactly that. There was no kind of real sort of improv or anything like that. It was probably the tightest script, whereas Life of Brian was something, if you'll pardon the pun, something completely different. But it's it was a really, really tightly written script, and everybody got their jokes in. I mean, it is kind of a series of sketches that's tenuously linked by this quest for the Holy Grail. But it's great. I absolutely love this movie. Its art direction, Terry Gilliam, is the one that really kind of gave it that wonderful look. And the Black Knight scene was filmed just around the corner from me in Epping Forest. So I'm like 5-6 minutes away from that location where that scene was shot.
There and you reenact that every weekend.
Reenact that. I often lop off the arms and legs of a stranger dressed in black.
Yeah, I watched this about 2 years ago. I'd say like 75% of it was still funny, and then there were a few jokes that were like, but
my favourite bit actually is the one day, lad, all this will be yours. What, the curtains? No, not the curtains, lad. That scene where you're not to leave the room, even if we come and get him. That scene is just brilliant, but yeah, it's a beautiful film. It's shot all over the place in Scotland. I think Hampstead Heath as well, Epping Forest. But most of the locations that they wanted to shoot at, I think they'd booked about 6 castles, and there was only one castle, Doune Castle, that actually allowed them to shoot there, because they all said that it would be kind of a desecration of British history if they were to allow these sort of these madcap idiots to
that's such horseshit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Inside Man's
it would have earned them. Yeah, there you go.
In case anyone's wondering what he looks like, there you are. What would you give it out of 10?
This is a 10 from me, an easy 10.
I'll give it an 8.5 from me. Has anybody else seen it recently enough to give it a rating? Anyone?
No,
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember really liking it. I'll go with 8 out of 10.
Okay, thank you. Drew Gordon says 9.
Getting road food ready. I would say a solid 8 out of 10. I think they get the Monty Python movies get progressively better, with Meaning of Life being my favorite.
No, I have to say the Meaning of Life,
I can't stand it.
Yeah, you see, most people consider that to be the weakest one, and I have to say it's also my favorite as well.
Yeah. I mean, the Meaning of, I mean, your favorite Monty Python movie is like a litmus test, of who kind of guy you are.
It's a litmus test of how old you are. You see, if you're young, then Meaning of Life is your favorite. If you're an old codge, like Inside Man,
if you're decrepit, wrinkled, and losing your hair on a daily basis, then
yeah.
As you can see, I still have my hair just about.
Well, shout out to my English teacher for showing us meaning Monty Python Holy Grail when we were in high school. That was fun.
Well, we were going to be shown the life of Brian, and this.
I love Life of Brian.
This mother who who was a Christian zealot. I remember we were playing Dungeons and Dragons at her house, and she sent this woman into the room to stop us from playing, and told us it was evil and all this stuff, and I had to go home. And this
show a big floppy penis in that movie, so.
Well, this is the same woman who basically got Life of Brian pulled. So the English teacher said, "Okay, we're going to watch The Warriors," and I thought, well, I heard The Warriors was really good, so cool, we're going to see The Warriors. That got pulled, thanks to this woman, and we got to watch The Champ. Boring family movie.
I've got a real soft spot for that movie. I do love that movie. I got to be honest. I do like it. Yeah.
So,
I love
it.
Beating the crap out of that kid for his mom being a killjoy.
Other good points of Holy Grail is when the peasants are criticizing the sword becoming king based on rule, pulling the sword.
Oh yeah. Oh, Dennis, there's some lovely filth down here.
Yeah. That or also bring out your dead. Bring out. I'm not dead. That's so good.
Yeah, I think
must
one
be a
person
king.
on the cart,
Must be
still
king. Has got
moving.
shit all over him. Yeah, it's great. I love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. And of course, the only kind of budgetary restraint that they had was the horses. So they couldn't afford horses, and the two halves of coconuts bashing together. That was because they couldn't afford the horses.
With the clippity. Yeah, because horse wrangling on a film set, very expensive, man. Very expensive. So, Stupenzo, did you have another film you wanted to recommend, or was The Substance the one you were going to say this week?
Well, no. There's also the Hallmark movie I watched with Shannon Elizabeth called Home for the Holidays.
My God. We have
Shannon Elizabeth is still looking pretty good, and she.
Who is that from American Pie? Or?
Yeah. I'm kidding. I did watch that. I did like it, but I won't talk about it. Instead, I'll talk about
Shannon Elizabeth once.
Yeah. No, I guys, Hallmark's countdown to the holidays, countdown to Christmas is coming up. So expect me to be Rick.
Haven't you got a piece of artwork with all the posters on? Can we have a look at that?
Sure. I showed that the other day on my show.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about that, but it is definitely up in my I like that stuff. But something I did check out that I hadn't seen because I'm addicted to Below Deck right now. Been checking out all these nautical themed movies. Like I saw Master and Commander. A while back.
That is so similar to.
I talked about it on a previous episode of this, but two other nautical movies I watched that blew me away. First was Triangle, which was a horror movie from about a few years back. I think 2015.
Yeah.
I
saw that at the cinema.
Yeah, it was like Groundhog Day meets Ghost Ship. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And then the other one that really rocked my socks. I watched it with Mom. Was White Squall. Dude,
with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, where we go one, we go all, dude. That was such an awesome movie, and also just confirms that like everything Ridley Scott made before Gladiator is great. Everything he made post Gladiator, not so great. White Squall was awesome, and it's one of those movies where it's about a bunch of kids who go on a kind of extracurricular sailing adventure.
Is it this?
To learn. That was the one. That was the Home for the Holidays movie I watched. I don't want to talk about that, but basically, for some reason, there's this building that's very near and dear to Sharon Elizabeth's heart, and for some reason, they're like double booked. Where some other guy is basically going to be moving in there, and she gets to renovate the place.
We don't care about that film. Let's go back to White Squall.
I know White Squall was awesome because not only is it about it's like a manly movie about becoming a man and responsibility and all this stuff, but yeah, metaphorical for a lot of stuff. You can interpret it in a lot of different ways. Talking about kind of like the Matrix, like
Talk,
just
how's that poster working out for you?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Here's what's very interesting. Here's what's really funny about it, though. Watching the movie, I was reading about one of the actors was only 5'1", so they had to like do some clever stuff to like make him not look so short.
Oh, I mean, the Tom Cruise lookalike.
It's guy? Jason Marsden, the blue collar loser lookalike. So not only does Jason Marsden kind of look like blue collar, but he's also 5'1", like blue collar. So.
Yeah, blue collar is tiny.
It's amazing.
Everybody,
like, no way.
Lance, if you ever get a chance,
Philippe is in this.
Yeah.
I saw this at the cinema. I've met Caroline Goodall. Just before she was getting into a taxi, she was also in Cliffhanger with my friend Craig Fairbrass. And this kid is the lead.
What's funny is Scott Wolf was 27 when he made the movie, and he's playing like a 17-year-old or something.
I mean, he looks unbelievably young in this picture.
But you could tell like Ryan Phillippe's actually like closer to the real age he's supposed to be. Like some of these kids are actually kids, and then you've got like almost 30-year-old Scott Wolf as the lead.
Ryan still looks like that. My first wife was obsessed with Scott Wolf. Like she loved the hell out of Scott Wolf. She made me watch Party of Five. I was like, oh.
Scott Wolf is like sort of,
Party of Five. What a snoozy show.
I had a thing for Jennifer Love Hewitt, man. So I didn't watch the show.
She was very perky.
Yeah. Jennifer Love Huge Tits, like they called her. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Lance. But yeah, White Squall was great. Jeff Bridges really kills it. He's awesome. And movie is a bit of a
true story as well.
Yeah, it's quite an adventure. And yeah, pretty. It's got it all. It's got a lot of stuff going on in that one movie. But just that masculine urge to like live on a boat. Like it's so cool.
I liked it. I remember recommending it to my dad, who we used to go sailing together. Anytime there was a movie with the sailing boat in it, and I'd always be on the phone to Dad and say, "Hey, you want to watch this? Dad, rent this out. This is going to be up your street." And he did rent it out, and he did like it. It was shot in the main water tank in Malta, using a full-size mock-up of the ship, the Eye of the Wind, which I believe is actually still there. I think, in fact, I probably saw it when I went to Malta Film Studios. The film bombed at the box office, sadly. Didn't do that great. I think it made its money back on DVD and whatnot. Like I say, it's loosely based on the true story of the Albatross. I think it's the Albatross ship that sank in 1960.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, there you go.
A bit like Napoleon being loosely based on Napoleon, I should imagine.
Yeah. I don't know how.
When he, well, it's one of those things where, like, he's teaching like sailing stuff, but like you as the viewer or you as the student, like you get a lot of, outside kind of lessons. Like when he's talking about what a loose cannon is, I mean, there's just some great nautical stuff going on in the movie as well, but it applies to, life in general, a lot of stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, loose cannon, as described by Jeff Bridges. You know what a loose cannon is? A couple 1,000 pounds of pig iron crashing around the deck in a storm. It could maybe take out a mast or punch a hole through the hull. Could send a man of war straight to the bottom. People are just like that sometimes.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might be interesting to do a longer compare and contrast to the true story of this movie.
There were some differences.
Yeah,
for plot's sake.
Okay, well let's move on from White School. What would you give it out of 10?
Dude, I'd give it a 9 out of 10, man. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 8. It was pretty good.
Triangle, I'd give like a 7. Triangle was fun.
I've never seen it.
Triangle was cool. Like I said, Ghost Ship meets Groundhog Day. That's exactly what. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
that's a pretty good. I only saw Triangle once. I saw it at the cinema. That's the one that came out in 2009, right? Where they find it's got the hang on, let me just put up the poster just to make sure.
Yeah, that's right. And there was some other famous actor in it. One of the Hemsworth brothers is in it briefly.
Yeah,
he's like a supporting role.
This movie is typical of many horror films in the sense that it's perfectly captivating enough at the time, but instantly forgettable. I totally forgot.
Yeah, it's a nice little tight little 90 horror film. Probably not one you'd want to rewatch 100 times, but probably worth watching, 2 times maybe.
Good to see the Tomby technical department is in the chat.
Tombinator, how did that Zoom test go?
Yeah, he's been. I was about to pay him thanks. He's been greatly assisting me in more ways than one to try and get our Zoom sort of connection working for our live stream with Gail and her tomorrow, which we have to do via Zoom, and we're trying to do it and run it through StreamYard. And we did 2 test runs, both of which had issues.
Shit.
Yeah, so we can just do it with Zoom, but it's
what's the StreamYard?
We think we're there with it. We think we're there with it now. We just got to.
I mean, the reason why I use StreamYard is because many of my non-tech savvy friends can just pop in easily.
Unfortunately, Gail only wants to do it via Zoom, even though I've begged and begged, and it was either Zoom or cancelled. So we're going with Zoom.
She got a sponsorship or something? Damn.
Anyway, for anyone listening, I apologize for Stupenzo's comments. So so let's move on quickly.
Gail Ann Hurd, I loved Cast a Deadly Spell and Witch Hunt. Those are great movies you produced that nobody talks about.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be talking about the presidential kind of comedy that she did, Dick, which is also a film that she produced that no one talks about. So that's on the list for topics for tomorrow.
I love Dick. It's so good.
And
movie.
Also, I thought that was Toxic speaking then.
No, what's funny is Dick is one of the worst movies of 1999, and it's still amazing. That's how great 1999 was for a year for movies.
Spoiled. Yeah,
so good.
Early Ryan Reynolds. This is like post his Dreamboat Canadian melodrama 15 series, but pre Van Wilder. So
dude, Dan Hedaya as Richard Nixon was some of the best casting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, Inside Man, did you have anything else you wanted to recommend before we start to wrap up?
Actually, it was something that we kind of spoke of the other day, and I decided to kind of revisit Sharp. So I watched Sharp's Rifles, and mainly because I think we were talking about Jason Salke, who played Rifleman Harris.
Mm-hmm.
There's an excellent interview with it. Yeah, excellent interview, really, really good.
Thank you.
So I thought I'd kind of give it a little bit of a revisit, as I just recently read his book, From Crimea with Love, and I really enjoyed it. I can't tell you how much I really enjoyed watching this series. I'd seen it for a long time. So I did Sharp's Rifles and Sharp's Eagle. And both of them are absolutely outstanding. Really terrific.
I like the first 6 or 7. I mean, they're all like mini movies, basically. They're all about.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They're all like between 90 minutes and 2 hours long, depending on which one it is. And they were made to be packed full of commercials because they were all funded by ITV, and ITV got first premiere and all that. But I think the first. They did about 4 movies per season, give or take. and they did
Yeah,
about
it was the first season was 2,
yeah.
which was Rifles and Eagle, and then
Second season was
I think
bigger,
the
wasn't
second
it?
season was 4, which was really strange because they pretty much halved the budget for the second season,
Yeah,
even though the
and
first season was really got outstanding reviews.
the first two,
Bizarre.
the first 6 or 7 of them are really good, and then some of the
Mm.
the later ones are okay. Then there was a massive hiatus, and then they came back with Sharp's Tiger and Sharp's Sausage or something, whatever.
It was Challenge and Peril, wasn't it?
And I saw half of one of them, and it was so bad. I was like, "Is this even made by the same team? You know, this is terrible."
Yeah.
Sharp's
I
Tiger
think
was set in India, but filmed in Cornwall or something. You know.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that I had with the later episodes, and of course Jason actually does mention it in his book, is that the chosen men start to deplete dramatically.
Yeah, some of them just
Um,
disappear, and
yeah,
they're not replaced, which is
no, that's right. I mean, Rifleman Tongue actually disappears from after the first season. He doesn't appear in
yeah.
season 2 onwards,
And he was one of the
and
best
there's no
characters.
explanation. Yeah, he was terrific. A really, really, really good actor. But it's, I mean, the chosen men for me were the actual heart of the show.
Yeah.
They really were the heart of the show. Okay, the series is called Sharp. You have to have a lead character called Sharp for obvious reasons. But he wasn't the heart of the show. He was kind of like the driving force of the show. But the chosen men were the best part about it, I thought. I mean, you had
No, I
Perkins,
would agree.
Harris
I've tried to play the
Hagman.
trailer, but
Yeah,
it's fucking not happening for whatever reason.
but what an ordeal filming this series.
Yeah,
Absolute
I mean,
ordeal.
they proper went through it. For most people don't know, it was predominantly filmed in the Crimea, and of course, actually, in the case of my friend who's seen here on the far right, who just wrote the book From Crimea with Love, Jason Flemyng, he married one of the production team that was allocated to them.
Yeah, it was the translator, wasn't it? She was.
One
the
one of
translator, I believe, production
Yeah.
translator. Yeah.
So they ended up together and married now. She's been living in England. So all of her family are all like in the middle of the war zone. I think in fact they're largely in the occupied territory by the Russians.
Yeah, because they moved from Crimea because I think they originally lived in Crimea and moved to Kiev, didn't they?
Yeah, and then for the last 2 or 3 of them, they went to Turkey. I think it was Turkey and Spain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the final season, the final proper season, if you like, was Turkey.
Yeah.
But they shot some of the first season, I think, in Portugal, just some sort of minor interior shots. But goodness me, I mean, what an incredible cast that they had right across the board in these. I mean, you had, Daniel Craig, for Christ's sake, Julian Fellows, the writer and creator of Downton Abbey.
Possibly the only show or movie that Sean Bean doesn't die in is this.
Yeah,
much.
that's right. Yeah, Chris Villiers,
Ian McNeice.
Chris Villiers, who appears in one of the episodes, was actually my agent at one point. Obviously, he was an actor and then became an agent.
This lady is the reason that the actor who played Tongue left.
Yeah.
They dated for a while, and
yes, they did. Yeah.
She dumped him, and he was heartbroken, and that's why he didn't come back.
Well, he was actually offered. Wasn't he offered a Mike Leigh play? And I don't think
I believe there was a play, but he didn't want to go back, did he? Because of what had happened. And
I was told that Sean Bean drinks a lot on set, but I don't know if that's true. I know an actor.
apparently they all drank a lot on this set. Well, not necessarily on the set, but it was certainly after hours. You know, in their downtime, it's drinking on set is.
I know a guy
is
who
really good.
played a minor role in some movie that Sean Bean was in, and the way he described it to me was that even when he was on set, it seemed like he had a lot to drink. That was the person's
Right.
impression. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody.
I hope it is true.
I mean, as long as he holds his own and doesn't get like belligerent, and
Right, I guess
I
so.
don't
I
care.
guess it's
You can
fine.
drink all you want as long as you do your job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I personally haven't worked with Sean Bean. I have to say that one of the big travesties of this series was the episode of Sharp's Waterloo.
That was
The way
terrible.
that
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched the show, but the two characters here have a particular type of ending. And when you consider everything that's occurred in the show up until that point, and the way certain cliffhangers and spectacular moments are filmed, and then this is almost inconsequential, and then there's no moral outcome for that sequence, either with Sharp or anyone else. I just thought, this is bollocks. What's happened here? Did the writer go on holiday? Someone else filled in the last few pages. What happened?
But doesn't Harper just shrug it off and he says, "Oh, they were soldiers. They knew what the consequences would be." But there was one episode at Sharp's Gold which I think is weird. It's a weird episode, and there's a reason for it being a weird episode.
That's the kind of Indiana Jones-ish type episode, isn't it?
The kind of Aztec-y kind of But the reason for it being weird is because it was written by a science fiction writer. It was written by the guy who wrote, believe it or not, the Quatermass Experiment and Halloween 3.
Right.
So it kind of went a little bit off kilter. Yeah. So
this is pre-CGI, and this series would be so much easier to make now because you could still have your 40 extras and use CG to make them look like 4,000, whereas literally most of the time they had 40 extras and they had to make them look like several hundred people. And so there's lots of, well, you know it yourself, Inside Man, there's lots of reusing of the same guys in multiple shots and same guys on both sides.
And also these guys, these poor sods, they were dressing up as Frenchies, and then they were British, and then there were Frenchies again, and then they were British. So they were just literally just changing their uniforms on a daily basis, But fair play. I mean, it's a nice bit of work if they can get it. But
the horse wrangling stuff in this show is very good, actually.
It is. Yeah. Stunt coordinator was Greg Powell on this.
No wonder.
And of course we had the amazing John Mollo, who did the costumes. Also did the costumes for the Charge of the Light Brigade and also Alien. He did all these surface suits and all that kind of stuff.
There's a young Paul Bettany there.
Yeah, Paul Bettany plays Silly Billy, doesn't he? Plays William of Orange.
Yeah, that's right. I like Hugh Fraser. I like Hugh Fraser.
Hugh Fraser.
In any case,
terrific. Yeah,
he was good in this.
But there's some great actors, some really, really good actors in this.
Yeah, I rewatched the entire show about 2 years ago, and Sharp's Gold was the real stinker, and then Waterloo was the one that should have been a lot better. And they kind of killed it, but it is worth watching. Definitely watch the first 4 or 5 if you like your Napoleon.
And they're all on YouTube. They're actually all on YouTube. Every one of them.
Are they? Right.
Yeah.
I've got that massive bulky DVD box set, the one that contains all of them except for the 2 shitty ones. It came out.
I got that.
It came out before Tiger and whatnot. So
yeah.
All right,
but they're good, and also, but I would recommend. I mean, if you haven't seen Sharp, you have to watch it. It's a terrific bit of British television. But Jason Salkey's book, From Crimea with Love, is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
One of the best, if not the very best, film and TV production book that I've ever read. It is so good.
There you go.
I don't
There's a
think I've ever read
recommendation.
anything that's so. I've never read anything that's so kind of warts and all. I mean, it's everything. It's all the problems that go
Well,
on
we're about
behind
to
a
wrap
production.
up now. Price of Reason has to go because he's got to tend to his fish tanks.
Do you have anything to recommend, Price, that you watched this week?
Yeah, or do you want to plug anything, buddy, before you head out?
If anybody feels like it, there's my YouTube channel, Price of Reason.
Could you just chuck the link for that in the private chat for me so I can whack it up on the screen?
I can do it. I'll just put it up in the thing.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, thank you, Stupenzo. What have you got coming up? What is you haven't been on before, so what does your channel cover? What's it all about?
It's pop culture news and reviews. I just posted a video about an hour or two ago about the Transformers 1 movie. Why it's not doing well at the box office, at least in my opinion.
What is your take on that?
My take is that they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. They wanted to sort of make it seem like it's for young kids, but I guess they also wanted older fans that like the actual Transformers to like it. And it's a movie that's not a terrible movie, but the way it was marketed, it just seemed like it was something dumb and childish. And I just went to it because I like to review stuff, so I actually went to it. And the first 30 minutes, it was kind of childish and stupid, but somehow around the second act, it started finding its footing. And I thought that by the third act, there was a lot of things that it did in a good way, but it wasn't perfect, but at least there was a lot more potential than what the movie ended up being, in my opinion. And certainly the marketing here was uneven, just like the movie.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
Fair enough. Anything else you want to plug or recommend before you go?
No, that's it. My YouTube, Price of Reason. If anybody feels like following me there, that's cool. And thank you.
We got Price of Reason Live, the live stream channel too.
Oh, there's also a live stream channel, Price of Reason Live. That is true.
Yeah.
That's like a secret one.
How you doing on your how you doing on your subscribers?
I think that on the main channel I have like 5,000, and on the second channel I have like 500.
Well, you're doing all right on the main channel, buddy.
Prices.
Thanks for coming on. We'll get you on again. And anybody who's got an avatar as a tadpole with a golden crown on their head is always welcome here.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy that we were able to do this. I'd love to be here again. I like what you do here.
Yeah, every Tuesday. Same time.
One of the things we try and do is kind of, we don't always have time to do this, but we each try and pick something new that we've watched and something old that we've watched that we think is good. We're not going to spend 20 minutes talking about Rings of Power. You know,
you're already doing that on Sunday.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes of my time I'll never get back, and I've been doing that elsewhere anyway.
God bless you, man.
Wow.
So yeah. Listen, Price, thanks for coming on, and I look forward to having you on again.
All right, I'll see you soon, man.
All right,
good stuff, man. Take it easy.
So we're about to wrap up anyway. So Stupenzo, I know you got to head out. Have you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the road right after this. In fact, I'll probably bounce after I plug my shit. But I did my first. I did my first short video in a long time today. I decided to break down this Thunderbolts movie poster controversy as a graphic designer and give you my input. So check that out. Also tomorrow, me and Dudicus watched the 80s Christian Slater skateboard murder mystery movie called Gleaming the Cube.
Gleaming the Cube. Gleaming the Cube.
Yeah, I love that. I love that film. That film made me
Tony
go
Hawk.
out
Tony Hawk's in it. Yeah, we got a full-length commentary of that coming out tomorrow. So that's great. And also expect some other good stuff. Like I said, Applegates was last week, and we got some other good stuff coming. Carnosaur's coming up soon. And so, yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming on my channel. And then I'll be out of town. So I don't know, maybe this Sunday for the Dork Side. I might do it after Gooch's show. I might do a graveyard shift Dork Side. So
don't
maybe
do it the same time as the Shield, man.
No, I'm gonna do it at like midnight my time. So yeah, it's gonna be late. So
that will be late.
Yeah, so stick around if you guys are into that. We'll be gossiping, talking nonsense. So yeah, but it was great chatting with y'all. I am gonna bounce. I'm gonna start packing up my computer and hit the road right now. So it was good talking stuff with you, and I'll see y'all later.
Give our best to your good lady.
Cheers,
friend.
mate.
Take it easy, brother.
All right, mate.
Speak to you later.
See you,
okay. So, and then there were three. Just going to tell you guys, obviously, don't forget, we have Gale Ann Hurd coming on the channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. UK time. This will be my biggest. This is interview number 77. I'm determined to get to 100 interviews before the end of the year. If you're a creative, it's not just the big people I'm interested in promoting. I am interested in supporting smaller creators, comic book people doing crowdfunding campaigns for board games they've invented. Also, if you've done a low budget film, you've got something to show me. I mean, it's got to be, there's got to be something we can talk about. But if you're in the post-production stages, it's nearly done, you've got a rough cut trailer, something like that, then you're welcome here. Get in touch with me and let's talk about your work, what you've got to show. But Gale Ann Hurd is on tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. I keep saying 6 p.m. It's 6:30 p.m. She's on tomorrow. So do come and check that out. I'm trying to share the poster for it, but for some reason it's just not coming up as one of my windows. I don't know why. Don't know why that is. Anyway, you can the link was up earlier. You can see it's up on the channel. Now, we are doing it via a slightly unorthodox method, not StreamYard directly. It is not impossible that might go wrong, and we might have a redirect connection. So look out for that. That may take place tomorrow. Then on Sunday we are going to be doing The Shield again, episodes 4 and 5. Toxic will be back for that, as will Inside Man. Hopefully one or two others. I think that's all I've got for this week. After today, Gale and then The Shield. So. Nice. There'll be some gaming streams. I'll be doing some random World War II gaming shit occasionally, but I've got a lot of work that I've got to get completed before Christmas. So the clock is ticking. 2 books I want to get done. I'll be lucky if I get 1. Blue Collar Loser. Now, we have been reviewing Rings of Power on a weekly basis. I have to say, I don't think I really want to review the remaining episodes. I think I'm going to watch them. But I don't really want to give it any airtime. It's not a show that I think is.
Support that.
I basically, my channel is about talking about stuff we want to recommend. I generally don't spend energy talking about stuff that other people just want to bitch about. Listen, some people may love Rings of Power. I'm just not emotionally invested in anything really in the story. I quite like the dwarf storyline. I do like the actors in the show. I think the actors are doing their absolute best with the material that they have. The production design, the art team should be incredibly proud of the work they've done on the show. The show looks fantastic. The costumes, for the most part, are amazing. The visual effects, for the most part, are very good. It is just the writing and the story and the order in which the scenes are coming and stuff is just a bit of a mess. And for a show that's close to $1 billion, more than $1 billion, certainly a lot of money. Certainly more money than I've ever earned. You really should have a top quality team steering this ship who know their shit. You want somebody who's produced a show like The Sopranos.
Believe me, they know their shit.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Inside Man with the double meanings there. But it's a tough one. Tox, you dropped a link for something you wanted to recommend. Should I click on this, or is it going to result in me getting sent to jail?
I mean, I feel like we've built up enough trust at this point in our relationship, Lance.
I don't know. I don't know if I would use. I don't know if the word trust is something I would use.
I thought you'd be upset about the word relationship, but trust is obviously.
I think both of those words are not words I would associate with you in any context ever. No, seriously, joking aside, what is it?
So I did a review on Rebel Ridge. I know we're running out of time, but
God, I did say I was going to mention it. Yeah. Well, let me. Toxic has done a review for Rebel Ridge. It's a film that, for the most part, I recommend. I quite enjoyed it. Some of it seemed a bit improbable. It's basically Rambo. First Blood.
Yeah.
Basically, Rambo First Blood with a black dude.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not bad.
On a second rewatch, in order to do the review, I actually found a lot more to like about it, and I say that in the review. And I keep it's pretty short. It's like 20-minute review, just real quick. The finer points. I got a little bit of. I had to redo it because I showed a little bit too much of it, and I had to trim some out, and I ultimately just wound up redoing it. But I did want to talk about some of the really well done fight scenes, and Dark Hour actually watched some of the fight scenes with me and gave me, because I know simple stuff, but he knows all that, martial arts lingo that I don't know. So, and I knew all the gun stuff, but I would highly recommend it. I was shocked how good it was on my second rewatch. So
yeah, it's quite sort of grounded. I think occasionally there are things where you go, would that really happen? But I think it's, if you keep sort of, it's a movie, don't overthink it too much. I think it's decent.
I think
enough.
this guy, Aaron Pierre's got a pretty good career ahead of him. I think.
Yeah, he's got a really good look.
He's got quite a presence. He's very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very domineering in the scenes that he's in, and he's very quiet, controlled rage.
To quote your words, those eyes are very jail cell friendly. I think
and it was great to see Don Johnson back again. I haven't seen him in a minute.
Playing a bad guy and doing a really good job as well. Playing this kind of sleazy guy. I really liked him.
Yeah, I right there. That's an evil face. Right
I mean,
there.
that could be a zombie movie right there. He could be a zombie in that shot.
He is menacing. I would not.
This girl was good. This girl was good. I really liked her. Yeah, she has kind of a cool storyline, and I this actress is good as well. I liked her character. I like the way that she wasn't just kind of a pushover and just sided with him because she was black.
Right.
Which is, an inferior writer would have gone that way.
I like the whole message of the movie was anti the message. It's subvert, because there's some blatant stuff, but it's more about the corruption than any kind of racial politics per se. It's more about, at a glance you might write it off as such, and to be fair, I did have those preconceived notions, and then I watched it and I was like, wait a minute. And then that subversion near the end of the third act, which I won't spoil, that was like, oh wow, okay, so I kind of had this wrong. And so I'd be interested in if they do like an Extraction thing, like if he does more of these, like Jack Reacher type stuff.
Yeah, this could be a good. You could definitely do another one of these and keep them this kind of budget. Don't make them mad.
Yeah.
Car chases with 50 cars, and
I think that's
by the way, this guy in this scene. This is the kind of cop I imagine you were. This guy.
Wow, that's not super flattering, Lance.
No, I'm completely joking. I
Okay.
don't think you were anything like him at all.
No,
he was
terrible.
I mean, they set him up as the character that you want him to feel pain.
Yes, yeah, and he does.
They do it really well. No, I imagine you were probably quite a ruthlessly efficient policeman.
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Whereas he is he is just kind of basically grossly on the take at every opportunity.
Yeah.
And also just not a good cop either. He's got very few kind of redeeming qualities, apart from clearly he contributes a fair bit to the donut consumption of America. But it's good. It's good. Have you seen it, Inside Man?
I have not, I'm afraid. No.
Yeah,
I will.
I will. I recommend it. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I'll actually order this one tonight, I think.
This is on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's
right,
on Netflix.
Okay.
Easy to watch.
It's actually a Netflix original, believe it or not, which I was shocked that they put out something this decent. I've not seen anything good from them of like this since Extraction.
They've done this, and I think the Menendez thing was a co-production with them and Ryan Murphy's company. I think Netflix had first look on it after the Dharma.
Fair enough.
Thing,
Fair enough.
So they're like, hey, you know, Amazon's fucked up real big on Rings of Power. We've got a bit of breathing room here. Let's knock out some good stuff.
You
Let's
know, I
money.
bet you that was an actual conversation or
I bet
something
it was.
similar in the boardroom. Yeah, I
bet
agree.
I bet somebody said, okay, let's set some budgets of around the kind of 10 million range, and let's see what kind of films we can produce for that.
Well, they probably saw Amazon's success with Jack Reacher and said, let's do a black Jack Reacher. And I mean, that's kind of what I mean. That's not an unfair comparison.
No, it's not. I think as a potential kind of pilot for more of these, I'd quite happily watch another 4 or 5 films with this character. You know, not too many, but I'd happily see a few more of these.
Yeah,
and I do like your consider the source idea. Actually, I think the concept of what you're doing is just brilliant. I think it's
thanks, man.
Is absolutely terrific. I really do, because there are so many adaptations of wonderful books that we know fall considerably short, but there are so many that just happen to be better than the source material.
Yeah, people are always surprised that I'm such I recommend movies and miniseries based on books. They're like, because they see me reading all the time, they see my big library, and they're just sure that I'm going to be a book snob and say, you know, oh, the book is always better. Well, that's not true, and I like to bring that out in the show. Now, if it is true, I will say, I'll be like, no, you just read the book.
You could do such a good one with The Hunt for Red October and the movie.
Really? Do you think that? Which do you favor?
I think overall, I think the book is so much better because of the way the Red October takes out the other submarine is completely different.
Okay.
And I prefer that version of it. Also, there were 2 more submarines in the book, so there was a hell of a lot more going on. I mean, I get it, budget. You know, you got to cut characters, so hey, let's cut some submarines. Let's cut some. Every time we have another submarine, that's another 12 crew we got to put in the bridge.
Right.
Scene,
yeah, you can imagine anything you want and write it in a book or a comic book, but you can't. Yeah, to film
I think Hunt for Red October was a good adaptation of the book. I just think it could have been. They could have kept the way the sub took out the other sub, the whole thing where it collides with the conning tower and turns it upside down. I thought that was so cool in the book when that
really
happened.
Good in the book.
Yeah, but the big sinner for me was Patriot Games. That the ending of the book in that is so spectacularly. If you ever do a stream about that, I'd love to come on that, because I think that is one that they proper cocked up, and they spent so much money on that whole water tank boat ending, which by the way was a reshoot, which was never even in the book. You don't hear what happens to those guys, the guys that try and get away. You just hear that they were later, some of them were apprehended by the police and executed in prison. But the scene in Patriot Games when of course it's Charles and Di in the book, which of course they couldn't really do in the film, but that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. It's a royal couple, same thing. But they had all the security team all around the house where they're staying, and the bad guys turn up in like an electric repair van. They search the van initially. The van is empty. It drives off to go and do the repairs. They meet some bad guys in the wood. The van comes back, and then as it's coming back past all the guys on the front, the thing opens up, and they've got an M60 in there on a tripod, and just like guns down all the security guys. It's like one of those scenes where it's just wide sweep of a machine gun. No one's expecting it. I was waiting for that in the cinema, and I was like, where is this shot, man? Why is this not in the movie?
I agree with that aspect of it. The highway scene where they have like this whole thing that they didn't put in the movie where they gun
that
down
too.
the cops.
That was way better in the book. That highway thing with the
the helicopter and I know, I get what you're saying, but I actually find Patriot Games to be a really brilliant adaptation of that. And I've not read a lot of Clancy. I've only read like 3 or 4 books of his, but
I've read all his early ones. I read Red Storm Rising, which never
Clear
got
and
made
Present
into it.
Danger. But yeah, I'm not a big Clancy fan, to be honest with you. I'd prefer his movies. I think they're stripped. I think he's up his own butt a little bit, especially with some of his later books. But no, man, it's I just did I gotta upload it and maybe trim it a little bit, but I just did Sharp Objects, which was turned into a miniseries, which is outstanding.
When
yeah.
is that out now?
My video or the show?
No, Sharp Objects. That's where do I see that?
Sharp Objects you can find. So, do you not have HBO Max in the UK, or
we have Max? Yeah, so I think
it's on Max.
That's the show with Amy Adams, right?
That is the show with Amy Adams. Yeah, probably her best performance, easily her best performance, actually, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I side with the miniseries, and I've read the book at least 6-7 times.
You know what? I saw this. This is the one with the flashback to the 2 different timelines.
Yep.
Yeah. I did see this. I did think it was good. The fact that I already can remember almost nothing is a bit of a concern.
Well, maybe watch my video and maybe it'll spark some interest.
Well, the pandemic this was 2018. It's like everything in 2018 is a bit of a blur because the pandemic happened not long after that. And plus, also, you know,
well, I actually watched the miniseries when I was on lockdown at the VA hospital. So yeah,
right. Wow.
So, what would you consider to be your favorite adaptation
of a book to film, or
book to film or TV?
I know my one.
Mine, where they do it better, would definitely be The Prestige, because the book is complete dog shit, and I was shocked because I saw the movie first, then read the book, and the book has nothing. It's like the bare bones story, and so The Prestige, Nolan elevated that to. I mean, he really took Christopher Priest's novel and turned it into something magnificent. As far as like a faithful adaptation, but just improved upon also, though, is Shawshank for sure. Shawshank Redemption is really great. So
my favorite 2 would be Bridge Too Far and Band of Brothers.
Yes,
cool.
I do slightly side with the book with Band of Brothers, though. I have a special soft spot because I read it while I was in the military, and
I think the emotional impact of the show is bigger because the book is far more factually accurate, of course, and of course the TV show can't cover everything. But I was so engaged with the characters, especially the ending, and well, we did a massive stream about it. I think you popped up in the chat a few times when we were doing that. So and Bridge Too Far, which are the book of which I'm reading again at the moment. So
I think mine would probably be Jaws and The Shining.
I read
the
Jaws.
adaptations. Yeah, I think the adaptations of both of those, I think, are far better than the books.
I always remember like reading Jaws and feeling a bit naughty because there's like a bit of nookie at the beginning with
there is
in the sea and there's a description of boobs, and I remember like reading it as a kid and going ooh.
I didn't know they had the whole subplot of the one Dreyfus character banging
Hooper,
the cop, the chief's wife. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Merlo Roberts in the chat. I haven't seen you in the chat before. Welcome to the stream. We're just about to wrap up, buddy, but I appreciate you being here. Well, we need to do it. You know what? We could do a whole stream about that. That would be an interesting topic. Although I feel like I'd be stealing your that's more your bag. But if you
nah. Just have me on.
If you're ever doing anything on any of the ones that I've mentioned, buddy, just give me a shout if I'm available. I'll happily come on.
Okay. As we're entering spooky season, they're all going to be all my Consider the Source. I'm going to try to get one out every single week, maybe 2 a week, and all going to be Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah, Inside Man. We need to do a horror thing.
Yeah.
On the 31st. I don't know what day of the week that is. Hang on, I've got my diary here. Let me check. But we do need to do a horror thing because I did do one last year. I had Critical Drinker came on and I did the thing, I think it was.
Oh yes, I remember that.
So the 31st is a Thursday, which is the same day as open bar. So I don't want to clash with that. So I either have to go before open bar or afterwards. And actually, if I go after at midnight, then we'll call it midnight on Halloween. But that might be a bit late for you if you've got a gig in the morning.
No, I think the 31st is actually going to be pretty good for me.
So we can call it Midnight at Halloween, and then we need,
Yeah.
but we need to think of what we're gonna talk about.
Mm.
I mean, I'd be quite interested in doing The Mist.
Right. Okay.
That's a really good film, but what's also interesting about it is that, which not a lot of people know, is that it was originally lit and shot to be black and white.
That's
So
right.
all the lighting in it is done because he wanted it to have that sort of Plan 9 from outer space, or They Came from Outer Space, to name a better movie. Wanted it to have that kind of 1950s horror film look, and the studio balked and basically said fuck no, you know. So it was released in color, but sometime later a limited edition silver Blu-ray or DVD box set, whatever it was released, and there are, if you hunt around, you can find it in black and white. I've seen it in black and white. It's fucking awesome in black and white.
Was that directed by Darabont?
Yeah, I think it was Frank Darabont.
Because you know what's interesting is that season 1 of Walking Dead, which he headlined, they had a thing when season 2 came out where they had all the season 1 episodes come out in black and white. He redid them in black and white.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think he got taken off that show pretty early on. I mean, the person to ask would be Gail Ann Hurd tomorrow, but I'm not sure I want to go down that road on that particular topic. That might, you know, she may not want to get into that. But yeah, it'd be interesting to. It's adapted from an anthology, isn't it, by Stephen King called Dark Forces. So we'll see it. So that could be something. We could maybe do that one.
Yeah.
Or if there was a themed thing we wanted to do. I mean, you know, we could do all the Halloween movies, but I've seen 3. I don't think I want to see any more.
Just like 20. There's like 20 something Halloween movies in 3 different timelines and stuff, man. That'd be I did see the one where Jamie Lee Curtis came back and it was her daughter. I guess that must be like 7 or 8 or something. It was one of the more recent ones, and it was actually pretty clever. I like the way her whole house was kind of designed to be anti Michael Myers, and she had all these kind of traps and shit. Yeah.
You know, there was no way he was kind of getting in. I thought that was pretty fun. But yeah. Anyway, right, we've gone well over the time. We've gone 40 minutes over. So let's wrap it up here, guys. So I'm just going to remind people we've got Gail Ann Hurd coming on tomorrow. And if you want a sprinkling of her whole career, these are just some of the things that she worked on.
They're coming. Humanoids from the deep.
Follow that car.
At first, no one believed it. Alligator.
The first comedy made expressly for the insane.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator. Aliens. Alien Nation. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Tremors, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator 2, Michael Douglas, Val Kilmer, The Ghost and the Darkness.
I quit. Forget it, that's it. The water dance.
Oh my God.
Dante's Peak.
No.
Clock Stoppers. Freeze the future.
Go, Bijou!
I'm going!
Or we're gonna die, go!
Run as fast as I can,
You may want to duck.
I had a life once.
Call me the Punisher. Shouldn't play with knives. We are many. We are everywhere. The end begins now.
I can't arrest people for doing their job. Welcome to Hellfest.
Got older, the impact Mom had on not just the Indian people, but the world.
In a just country, she would have been elected president.
The police told me they got the right one.
You always believe it?
No more using this office to further your obsession.
Julia Ormond.
I think I have the right to end this on my terms.
The wronged man.
Didn't you have something you wanted to tell me? She'll never talk to me again. God, you're sick!